بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. معالي أحمد بالهول الفلاسي وزير التربية والتعليم، معالي حميد محمد القطامي رئيس مجلس أمناء مؤسسة حمدان بن راشد آل مكتوم للأداء التعليمي المتميز، أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، حضورنا الكريم، يطيب لنا في مؤسسة حمدان بن راشد آل مكتوم للأداء التعليمي المتميز وهي تختتم يوبيلها الفضي 25 عام من التميز والعطاء والابتكار في التعليم، أن نرحب بكم في هذا الصرح الثقافي الحضاري الكبير، مكتبة محمد بن راشد التي تحتضن المنتدى الدولي للابتكار في التعليم، مؤكدين معاً أن التزامنا بدعم فرص التحسين في التعليم يعتمد على إسهاماتكم كخبراء ومختصين وصناع قرار، مما يدعونا لأن نسعد ونفخر بحضوركم المؤثر كمشاركين وضيوف. ومع هذه الانطلاقة بتواجدكم أتشرف بدعوة معالي حميد محمد القطامي رئيس مجلس أمناء مؤسسة حمدان بن راشد آل مكتوم للأداء التعليمي المتميز لإلقاء كلمة الافتتاح، فليتفضل مشكورا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الضيوف الكرام، السيدات والسادة، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يطيب لي أن أستهل كلمتي بالتعبير عن اعتزاز مؤسسة حمدان بن راشد آل مكتوم للأداء التعليمي المتميز بتنظيم هذا المنتدى الدولي بعنوان الابتكار في التعليم، برعاية كريمة من صاحب السمو الشيخ محمد بن راشد آل مكتوم نائب رئيس الدولة رئيس مجلس الوزراء حاكم دبي رعاه الله، والذي يأتي متزامناً مع نهاية النسخة الثامنة من شهر الابتكار في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، ويثري الاستجابة المؤسسية للحراك التطويري في التعليم وضرورات التقارب والتناغم في الجهود الدولية الرامية إلى تحسين كفاءة التعليم، وهو يعد أحد الأهداف الاستراتيجية في أجندته الوطنية في إطار خطة تطوير التعليم التي تحظى برعاية واهتمام من صاحب السمو الشيخ محمد بن زايد آل نهيان رئيس الدولة حفظه الله، وصاحب السمو الشيخ محمد بن راشد آل مكتوم نائب رئيس الدولة رئيس مجلس الوزراء حاكم دبي رعاه الله، وأخوانهما أصحاب السمو حكام دولة الإمارات. كما يسعدني أن أنقل لكم تحيات الشيخ راشد بن حمدان آل مكتوم الرئيس الأعلى للمؤسسة وتمنياته لكم ولمنتداكم بالتوفيق والنجاح، مرحباً بكم مسؤولين حكوميين وممثلين عن المنظمات والمؤسسات التعليمية وخبراء ومختصين، وخصوصاً ضيوف المنتدى الموقرين والمشاركين الدوليين والإقليميين، معرباً عن صادق التقدير لجهودكم في دعم التعليم وتمكين سبل تطويره وتجويده، وكذلك استجابتكم الكريمة بالحضور والمشاركة في هذا المنتدى الذي يشكل فرصة سانحة لتبادل الآراء وتداول أكثر الموضوعات إلحاحاً على مستوى صناعة جودة التعليم والبحث عن الحلول المستدامة للتعليم مدى الحياة والتعلم من أجل ازدهار كوكبنا في ظل تطورات متسارعة في تكنولوجيا الاتصالات والمعلومات والتحولات المذهلة التي يقودها الذكاء الاصطناعي. الحضور الكريم، في افتتاحية عام 2019 في افتتاحية عام 2019 من مطبوعة الرسالة التي تصدر عن منظمة اليونسكو، وردت هذه العبارة: إن مهنة التعليم بشكلها التقليدي تواجه صعوبات كبيرة جراء تطور علوم الأعصاب المعرفية وتعدد التطبيقات التكنولوجية الحديثة في مجال التعليم، وهذا من شأنه أن يفرض على المهنة التكيف وإعادة النظر في طبيعتها المتطورة. مرت 4 سنوات تخللها أكبر تحدي للبشرية في العصر الحديث، وهي جائحة كوفيد-19 كما أنها شكلت أكبر تحدي للتعليم. ومن جراء آثارها المدمرة أصبحنا ندرك اليوم أكثر من أي وقت مضى مدى أهمية أن تتجاوز مقتضيات الابتكار إلى المبادرة للابتكار من أجل التكيف والاستمرار. لذلك بات من الضروري أن نشجع التفاعل بين التعليم والمعطيات المتجددة لتعزيز مفهوم مواكبة المتغيرات وتطوير صناعة التعليم المتميز المتمكن من مواصلة بناء الحضارة الإنسانية. ولعل اختيار الابتكار في التعليم عنوانا ومحورا لهذا المنتدى يعكس التزامنا في دبي وفي دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة وفي مؤسسة حمدان بن راشد آل مكتوم للأداء التعليمي المتميز بالإسهام في دفع الجهود المحلية والدولية نحو بلورة رؤية مشتركة تضمن استدامة كفاءة التعليم وتستحدث تجديدات متناغمة مع المتغيرات وخصوصاً التحول الرقمي. وبالتأكيد فإننا نعول على شركائنا من المنظمات والمؤسسات الدولية والإقليمية التي نتقاسم معها هذا الاهتمام في تحقيق هذه الغاية المنشودة. السيدات والسادة، بحضوركم ومشاركتكم نحن على ثقة بأن أطروحات ومداولات هذا المنتدى إلى أفكار إيجابية وبناءة ستثري الوعي التربوي وستساعد صناع القرار التعليمي للتركيز على الابتكار في التعليم وتسريع عجلة التطوير والتجويد. وفي الختام نتوجه لكم بتمنياتنا بالتوفيق والنجاح لمنتداكم هذا، كما نتمنى لكم طيب الإقامة في بلدكم الثاني دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة ومدينة دبي. شكراً لكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
نشكر معالي حميد القطامي على هذه الكلمة الافتتاحية وهذا الترحيب. السيدات والسادة، سياسات التعليم واستراتيجيات التعلم والمناهج الدراسية، طرائق التدريس، مهارات التفكير، التنبؤ بالمستقبل، التطور المذهل للتكنولوجيا، كل هذه عناوين ومحاور كثيرة تتصل بالحراك التطوري للتعليم. إنها بشكل أكثر واقعية تحديات تفرض على صناع التعليم ضرورة تعزيز النهج الابتكاري. دعونا الآن نستمع إلى كلمة المسؤول الأول عن التعليم في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، معالي الدكتور أحمد بالهول الفلاسي وزير التربية والتعليم، فليتفضل مشكورا.
مع الأخ حميد القطامي رئيس مجلس أمناء مؤسسة حمدان بن راشد للأداء التعليمي المتميز، أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسرني بداية أن أرحب بكم اليوم في المنتدى الدولي للابتكار في التعليم الذي تنظمه مؤسسة حمدان بن راشد آل مكتوم للأداء التعليمي المتميز تحت رعاية سيدي صاحب السمو الشيخ محمد بن راشد آل مكتوم نائب رئيس الدولة رئيس مجلس الوزراء حاكم دبي رعاه الله. يأتي هذا المنتدى بالتزامن مع شهر الابتكار 2023، الشهر الذي يعد أحد أهم الفعاليات التي ترسخ مفهوم الإبداع والابتكار بما يتلائم مع الخطط والتطلعات المستقبلية لدولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، وذلك من خلال التعرف على أفضل الممارسات الدولية الرائدة والاستفادة منها لرسم مستقبل الدولة في مختلف القطاعات الحيوية، خاصة القطاع التعليمي. السيدات والسادة، لقد اتخذت قيادتنا الرشيدة من الابتكار غاية ومرتكزا للتنمية من خلال الاستثمار برأس المال البشري، وفي مقدمتهم شبابنا وشاباتنا عماد المستقبل وأدواته، حيث تم وضع خطط وتنفيذ مبادرات تطويرية تعمل على الارتقاء بمهاراتهم وقدراتهم، فضلا عن توفير أفضل بنية تحتية تكنولوجية على مستوى العالم تعتمد على أحدث البرامج والتقنيات لخدمة وتطور المنظومة التعليمية وترسيخ مفهوم الابتكار وتحفيزه في نفوس الطلبة باعتباره الممكن الرئيسي للتجدد والتحول الجذري في مختلف وسائل وأدوات التعليم والمناهج. الحضور الكريم، نحن في وزارة التربية والتعليم نؤمن إيمانا راسخا بتزايد أهمية الابتكار في العالم اليوم، لأنه يساعدنا على تطوير حلول وبشكل استباقي للتحديات المستقبلية للحكومة، كما نضعه في صميم عملنا باعتباره المحرك الأساسي لاستشراف وصناعة المستقبل. سيدات والسادة، تواصل وزارة التربية والتعليم مسيرتها الابتكارية للارتقاء بمختلف جوانب المنظومة التعليمية وتكييفها بما يلبي تطلعات أبنائنا الطلبة في الحصول على تحصيل أكاديمي رائد عالمياً، وذلك من خلال تعزيز التعاون مع مختلف الشركاء الاستراتيجيين، خاصة مؤسسات القطاعين العام والخاص، للاستفادة من التكنولوجيا الحديثة تطوير المنظومة التعليمية بما يتماشى مع الرؤية المستقبلية للقيادة الرشيدة. ختاماً، لا يسعني إلا أن أرحب بكم مجدداً وأتمنى لكم جميعاً تجربة ملهمة ومتميزة خلال فعاليات هذا المنتدى. وبدورنا في وزارة التربية والتعليم سنواصل العمل باستمرار لنشر ثقافة الإبداع والابتكار وتبنيها في جميع نواحي عملنا، وكل منا من موقعه شريك ومساهم في دعم هذه الجهود الرامية إلى تعزيز مكانة دولة الإمارات كمركز عالمي ابتكار وتنافسيتها العالمية في مجال التعليم. شكراً والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
نشكر معالي الدكتور أحمد بالهول الفلاسي على هذه الكلمة وعلى حضوره للمنتدى هذا اليوم. أما الآن سنتابع الجلسة الرئيسية تحت عنوان الابتكار في التعليم، يقدمها البروفيسور ريكاردو كوينكا، أستاذ في جامعة سان ماركوس الوطنية الكبرى وباحث كبير في معهد الدراسات البيروفية في البيرو. فليتفضل مشكورا.
Good morning, Your Highness, Your Excellencies. Good morning, everybody. That's me. I'm Ricardo Cuenca from Lima, Peru. I'm professor at the Universidad Nacional Mayor de San Marcos and senior researcher at the Instituto de Estudios Peruanos. I'm a specialist in the study of the reforms and comparative policies in education, as well as in the relations between education and politics with a historical perspective. I'm a social psychologist and holds a doctorate in philosophy of education from Universidad Autónoma de Madrid. I'm currently a member of the Advisory Council of the Organization of Ibero-American States for Education, Science, and Culture, and member of the External Academic Committee in Flaxo, Mexico, and member of the jury of the UNESCO Hamdan Prize for the Teacher Development. I'm in several research groups in Europe, in Latin America, as well as several scientific and editorial committees of educational journals. I have been Minister of Education of Peru and advisor for the National Education Council of Peru, President of the Peruvian Society of Education Research, and President of the Civil Society Educational Forum. I've been visiting professor at several universities and has advised several ministries of education in Latin America. I participate in many national and international academic events as a lecturer or specialist or panelist, in Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, and Latin America. My books and articles have been published in Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, United States, Spain, France, Mexico, and of course, in my country, Peru. It's a great honor for me to be here with you to celebrate the silver jubilee of the Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum Foundation and to reflect on some educational-related issues of interest on the international agenda. Many thanks for the foundation for promoting opportunities for exchanging ideas, and congratulations for these 25 years. Innovation is a prestigious concept. It's associated with the idea of high quality, modernity, and creativity. In general, it's understood as an original and effective solution to a challenge. It's a thoughtful effort to address a problem and is therefore deliberate. All of us, at some time, want to do something innovative, or better yet, to be considered innovators. Being innovative makes us agents of change. The field of education is not exception. The general prestige of innovation has been part of educational discourse for some years now. The number of ideas about the issue is vast. Between 2001 and 2023, more than 45,000 academic papers have been published, and nearly 500,000 innovative practices in education have been reported on the web. Many have participated in the hundreds of competitions every year that reward the best innovations in education. Talking about innovation seems straightforward, but it becomes a problem when we take a deeper look at its meaning. Innovation is one of those concepts that seems very clear because it covers so much, but it's very difficult to narrow down when necessary. They might be why it's impossible to reach consensus about what an educational innovation really is. The difficulty is partly due to the existence of the many different theoretical perspectives that underline the idea of innovation, the many different methodological approaches, and many examples of best practices. There are also discussions or experiences of educational innovation in the area of educational policy, curriculum design, teacher education, school management, teaching, family participation. In short, many different messages in many educational spaces. And this is what I want to emphasize and focus on my presentation. I would like to discuss with us what educational innovation is, so as to propose a pathway to will enable us to have better impacts. I would like to concentrate on this point because educational innovation runs the risk of being everywhere without actually being anywhere. It can be an empty signifier, as the Argentinian philosopher Ernesto Laclau puts in, a concept whose meaning is established by the word itself as a demonstration of power relationships. For that reason, we must make the effort to understand it in all its complexity to correctly determine its best possible use and the change we need to make. Before going into greater depth, let me provide a brief timeline of discussion about innovation. Although its origin is not completely clear, there is a basic consensus that the concept of innovation as an analytical category appeared in the 20th century, at the end of the 1930s. In fact, in 1939, the Austrian economist Joseph Schumpeter first used the term innovation associated with markets and inventions. In effect, innovation was understood as an inevitable process in the evolution of the capitalist system, which expresses the use of scientific knowledge to develop new initiatives. But it was not until the end of the 1960s that the concept of innovation, a term taken from other disciplines, was directly included in discussions about education. William Wesley introduced a concept of the Innovation in Education Conference organized by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. He emphasized the importance of the use of innovation in education while warning of the risk that could arise from failing to take into account that the new is not always better, and the change of technology is a secondary issue. After that, the United Nations Organization for Education, Science and Culture, UNESCO, launched a very important series of discussions about how changes in education are designed and implemented, led by the psychologists Alan Huberman and Rona Havelock, among others. In short, until the 1980s, the idea of innovation was associated with changes in educational systems, their policies and programs, and planning and procedures. In the 1980s, a new stage began with the rise of the notion of quality in educational discourse. International movements, such as the one of effective schools, constitute an important step in the concept of innovation. It went from focusing on overarching process to focusing on change in schools. the influence of organizational elements in education promoted by the outstanding professors Michael Fulham of Canada and Andy Hargreaves of the United States dominated the design and development of innovations. The great summary of that area, which lasted until the end of the 20th century, is that the school is an organization that learns. And it does so best if the learns by innovating. With the new century, discussion about innovation began to focus on people. This stems from the idea that it's in the change of the practices, the knowledge, emotions, and attitudes that real innovations occurs. The idea of innovating as the best way to improve began to permeate ideas about innovation. And it's in this context that I would like to share with you the question that I propose as the guide for the presentation. Is it possible to improve without innovating? The presentation is organized in two parts. The first is a brief theoretical approach to educational innovation. This will help us to understand the complexity of the concept, as we mentioned at the beginning. The second part presents minimum areas of agreement about educational innovation. I will share some ideas about where it is possible to continue innovating effectively. Let's begin with the concept of innovation. The minimum consensus about its definition centers on the idea of change. Not just any change, but a successful change, a change that makes an improvement. However, there is something clear that appears in the various conceptual perspectives about educational innovations. That is the starting point, the specificity of the diagnosis. Do we innovate because there is an educational problem that must be addressed and previous efforts have not solved it? What has been done is not correct or has been done badly and must therefore be improved? In other words, is it innovative to improve the way in which things were being done? One of the weaknesses of the design of innovation is precisely the starting point. The decision to innovate without in-depth evaluations that determine the reasons why the course of things must be changed. There are even reports of innovations that serve as a recipe for other problems. Let's take a closer look. As we mentioned, the concept of educational innovation has many meanings and uses. At least three conceptual perspectives have been identified. A first one associated with technology, the one related to procedures, and finally, one related to people's practices. Change in the use of technologies is probably the most widespread perspective. Whatever the type of technology, innovation requires a change from an old technology to a new one. Seduced by the modern use of information and communications technologies, innovation is increasingly concentrated in the promotion of these particular technologies, which have ranged from the use of devices to the incorporation of artificial intelligence in educational processes. In fact, since 2016, the OECD, through the Center for Educational Research and Innovation, has made significant efforts to promote educational innovation based, especially on the use of new technologies for teaching. There are those, however, who consider the use of the new technologies to be an instrumentalization of the idea of innovation. They undoubtedly believe that the use of these tools is important for development of innovation, but it's not their focus. In fact, they might suggest that the innovative idea could work even without digital technologies. A second conceptual perspective about innovation is based on a change in procedures, most often organizational, to make them more effective. From this perspective, innovations have been reported that have modified everything from a local government's administrative procedures in education to the task of school principals. Focusing on management, these innovations have contributed to an improvement in the production of goods and services for improving education. Finally, a change in people's practices is a more complex level of educational innovation. It's worth taking a closer look at this. First, to determine that not all innovations connected with persons signify change in the persons. In fact, innovation in teaching, teacher education, or school management can be solely procedural or technological innovations. This conceptual perspective seeks to change the behavior of persons, the culture of a group, or attitudes of the members of the educational community. In short, the conceptual perspectives I have been described coexist. Most of the time, they function simultaneously in such a way that their boundaries are difficult to distinguish. Some people might think that therein lies their strength, and that could be true. But there are also some red flags. Without clear definition in seek to meet an objective based on a good diagnosis, educational innovation may run the risk of being everywhere without being anywhere. There is nothing worse for an educational innovation than for it to be an anecdote rather than a practice that is relatively stable over the time. Just as we can find many definitions of the concept of educational innovation, it's possible to find in the specialized literature multiple uses of the concept. A quick glance shows that those uses can be organized into three types, which I call strategic, functional, and normative. The strategic use of the concept of innovation in education is probably the most widespread. It had its origin in the response to demands from the educational context. Demands, however, that are different in nature. Some are very broad, such as responding to need to form citizens of the world within a framework or cosmopolitanism. According to this demand, educational innovations replace traditional forms of civic education in the school curricula. Some less ambitious demands are resolved by innovations. One example is the use of robotics in the development of educational projects in various curricular areas, such as mathematics, science, and history. In this way, the demand for the use of technology to facilitate learning appears in particular curriculum areas. A second use of the concept is functional. Here, the objective is to call attention to areas that receive little attention in public agendas. Proposing that these areas be addressed through innovation increases their value. One clear example of this educational innovation is an environmental education. We'll care for the environment. It's important on the overall public agenda. It's much less important in the educational sphere, which is still dominated by traditional basic learning, such as reading and mathematics. Along this same line, we find innovations in teaching of the arts. They tend to be coupled with traditional subjects to be more notable. One example is the use of cartoons associated with the development of reading comprehension. Finally, one complex use which innovate promoters defend is normative. That is, one that seeks to influence and sometimes determine what is good from what is bad. In this use, the design, development, and evaluation of educational innovation marks the course of how these innovations should be addressed in other educational spheres, such as reforms, policies, and programs. This tends to be greatly utilized in public policies as well as institutional policies. Examples include an in-service training program for teachers developed by a partnership between local educational authorities and international cooperation agency, or networking strategies in rural areas accompanied by local community stakeholders. In short, the concept of innovations seems to be flexible enough to be adapted to diverse uses that may also be complementary. By this I mean that the same educational innovation may be used strategically and normatively at the same time. One expression of that are those innovations that seek scale and sustainability, so they are not longer limited experiences. In fact, we are talking about educational quality. This opens us a new discussion about how innovations in education is increasingly need to be understood as initiatives that must be sustainable in terms of their technical capacity and their social legitimacy. They also must become institutionalized, meaning they must become a regular part of the life of organizations. A related discussion is whether innovation must be permanent, whether their function is a specific improvement in a specific time frame, or whether, on the contrary, they are the first step toward permanent changes that modify everyday practices. I will only mention this as we would need more sessions to explore this further. I would like to move on to the last part of my presentation. In speaking of pathways for developing innovations, I will say first that there are no formulas for developing an innovation. At least, I know of no serious studies or reports that offer a particular formula for doing so. Moreover, based on the conceptual approach I've shared with you, a formula would be impossible. As we have seen, there are many definitions, many uses, and many educational spaces associated with educational innovations. If the very definition of innovation does not admit a unique perspective, the weight of designing and implementing innovations can be no different. What can I present are some considerations to research on educational innovation offers to the better design and develop of these innovations. Because of time constraints, I would like to focus on two of them, because I believe they are fundamental to consider from the critical perspective on innovations that I have shared with you, and because there are agreements about their importance. I thought both the institutionalization of innovations and the narrowing now of their objectives are very important. I would like to focus on innovations in people and think about them in the context in which they will be developed. As we've seen, in its evolution, the concept of educational innovation has passed through various stages. In recent years, it has focused on people more than on systems, organizations, or procedures. Focusing on people means that the change are in the persons. The change are the persons. And innovation must be designed in such a way that I can affect practices, attitudes, and even culture. In this way, we confirm that both technology and procedures must be at the service of people and not the other way around. Those who have the power of change, therefore, are people, and for that reason, beginning with the design stage, it's crucial to take into account the characteristics of the people who will develop the innovation. One example of this is one of the recent winners of the UNESCO Hamdan Prize for Teacher Development. The Training Teachers to Transform Haiti project focuses on the transformations of teachers' pedagogy in Haiti, so the student-centered classroom become the norm. This project is innovative in that it connects teachers, administrators, and parents as stakeholders in ongoing professional training. The second consideration is association with context. Not all contexts in which innovations are developed are the same. In fact, the context can determine whether an innovation will be more or less successful. For that reason, one basic agreement regarding innovation is to start with the reality where and from which the educational innovational will be developed. Unconsolidated educational systems can develop less disruptive innovations than the general perspective of innovation as a novel change. In some cases, a basic norm that permits the better functioning of an educational system or a school could be considered an innovation even when something similar has already been implemented for many years in other consolidated educational systems. One example of this is another winner of the UNESCO Hamdan Prize for Teacher Development. Learning Peace, Teach Without Violence in Benin works in a country with limited formal teacher training. Benin's schools face daily challenges of physical, psychological, and structural violence, perpetrated by both teachers and students. The project is working to improve valuable professional learning and development that shift teachers' punitive, authoritarian styles of teaching to a more respectful and inclusive approach to teaching and learning, which in turn facilitates its de-escalation of negative student behaviors. The project works via questionnaires, role-playing, exercises, analysis grids, and focus groups. By the way, all of them are popular and familiar activities. Finally, I would like to return to the initial question. It is possible to improve without innovation? All indications are that the answer is yes. It is possible to improve without innovating if one does well what must be done, without spectacular changes, without unexpected turns. There are some successful experiences, for example, in countries that have improved their learning outcomes. One is my country, Peru, which according to the PISA report has been among the countries that have made the greatest progress in reading comprehension outcomes. In addition, according to UNESCO's Regional Education Office for Latin America and the Caribbean, Peru was one of the 3 countries that maintained growth in the outcomes in 2019. Believe me, during this time, neither the Ministry of Education nor the school made particular innovations. They did their regular work better. The importance of innovation, however, lies not only in improvement, but it's a better improvement. The idea of innovation is the idea of a more efficient and more effective improvement. Therein lies its importance. For that reason, after 50 years, we continue to insist on innovation, even though it is a complex and dynamic concept. For example, According to the most recent OECD report on education and innovations in 2019, between 2006 and 2016, Slovenia experienced a high level of innovation in secondary education, which can be associated with better outcomes. They develop innovation, especially in practice, related to the autonomous acquisition of knowledge in class, evaluation, and data. For my teachers, formation was considerably reduced, while peer learning practices increase. I'm finishing. Innovation implies change, and the greatest risk is participating in ill-conceived innovations. It can be resolved if we consider the persons at the center of innovation and the context as a space for its development. The widespread idea that innovation means spectacular acrobatics in teaching, curriculum, or management is not always, strictly speaking, innovation. Once more, the importance lies in bringing about an effective change. For example, the Tamayuz project for school-based educational reform is a research and development project that has transformed into social movement which aims to transform the process of schools reform by empowering educations to be leaders and advocates for social change at local level. Tamayuz established professional networks that allow teachers to interact with educational experts and community members to identify the issues they see as critical to the educational success of their students. The program's primary innovation is that it identifies the engine of educational reform as a culturally grounded capacity-building model for school improvement. The country networks established through the project reorganize traditional relationships between teachers, educational researchers, and school leaders. So, we come to the end of the initial question still in mind. It is possible to improve without innovating? I have thought to offer an overview that helps to respond to these questions. But above all, I would like to propose to all of you that we work together to build a better answer. Thank you very much for your generous attention. Shukran.
Thank you, Dr. Ricardo, for your valuable presentation and speech. نشكر الدكتور ريكاردو كوينكا على هذه الجلسة وهذا العرض المثري حول موضوع الابتكار في التعليم. أيها الحفل الكريم، وقبل أن نستكمل جلسات المنتدى نلفت عنايتكم باستحقاق تكريم المتحدثين في المنتدى. أرجو من معالي حميد محمد القطامي رئيس مجلس أمناء مؤسسة حمدان، ومعالي الدكتور عبد الرحمن العاصمي مدير عام مكتب التربية العربي لدول الخليج، وسعادة الدكتور خليفة السويدي الأمين العام للمؤسسة، لاعتلاء المسرح لتكريم المتواجدين والمتحدثين في هذه الجلسات والمشاركين فيه. ونبدأ بالتكريم الدكتور ريكاردو كوينكا. الدكتور راشد الريامي. السيد راسل لونغمير. سعادة الدكتور عبد الرحمن المديرس. الدكتور أديب جراح. الدكتور كارلوس فارغاس. والسيدة ماتيلد بويزل. الدكتورة ريما كرامي عكاري. الدكتور أحمد الكعبي. الأستاذة نورة الحمادي. الدكتورة هالة الحويرس. الدكتورة هايدرين ستوجر. والسيد بيدرو سواريس. الدكتور عبد الصمد طريضان. والطالب أرهان تشابرا. وأخيراً وليس آخراً الطالب ماثيو تشين. وأود أن أدعو الآن إلى صورة تذكارية خريجي برنامج ماجستير التربية الابتكارية، فليتفضلوا إلى المسرح لالتقاط صورة تذكارية. برنامج ماجستير التربية الابتكارية في عام 2018 بالتعاون مع جامعة الإمارات العربية المتحدة تمنح مؤسسة حمدان بن راشد آل مكتوم للأداء التعليمي المتميز رعاية ل10 طلاب سنوياً، وتم تخريج 30 طالباً وطالبة حتى الآن. صورة جماعية للطلاب. شكراً لكم وألف مبروك تخرجكم من برنامج الماجستير. ندعو الآن الخريجين للعودة إلى أماكنهم. شكراً لكم. وندعو السيد راسل لونغمير المدير التنفيذي لمؤسسة EFQM ومدراء المدارس المشاركة في المرحلة التأهيلية لجائزة حمدان EFQM التعليمية العالمية للانضمام إلى المسرح لالتقاط صورة جماعية، فليتفضلوا مشكورين. Now we would like to welcome to the stage the schools that participated of the qualifying cycle of the EFQM Hamdan Global Education Award for a group photo. يذكر أن نموذج حمدان EFQM التعليمي العالمي تم تصميمه بالتعاون مع المؤسسة الأوروبية لإدارة الجودة EFQM بهدف الارتقاء بجودة التعليم ومخرجاته في كافة أنحاء العالم من خلال إطار عمل يتضمن معايير تقييم ووضعت خصيصاً للوصول إلى تجربة تعليمية عالمية متميزة ولتوفير حلول مبتكرة تساهم في استدامة المنظومة التعليمية. إذن هذه صورة جماعية لمدراء المدارس المشاركة في المرحلة التأهيلية لجائزة حمدان EFQM التعليمية العالمية.
أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الضيوف الكرام، الأخوة والأخوات المبتكرين، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يعد الابتكار عنصراً من المحاور الوطنية لرؤية دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة التي تندرج تحت عنوان متحدون في المعرفة، والذي يسهم في تحقيق اقتصاد معرفي مرن يدار بكفاءات ماهرة وتعزز أفضل الخبرات بما يضمن مستقبل مستدام مزدهر لمواطنيها ومقيميها. لذلك يعتبر الابتكار محوراً أساسياً في التعليم يشاركنا اليوم نخبة من الحضور والمشاركين في هذه الجلسة: سعادة الدكتور عبد الرحمن بن إبراهيم المديرس والسيد راسل لونغمير. في البداية أحب أعرف عن نفسي. معكم الدكتور راشد الريامي من جامعة الإمارات، دكتور مساعد. عملت في قطاع التربية والتعليم أكثر من 20 سنة. تخرج على يدي الكثير والعديد من الطلبة ولله الحمد. لي مسيرة حافلة من الإنجازات ولله الحمد. لكن بعد قراءة CV للدكتور والأستاذ رسل وجدت نفسي الشخص الصغير. فأعرف عن الدكتور عبد الرحمن بن إبراهيم المديرس. يمتلك الخبرة الكثيرة التي تفوق 30 سنة في مجال الجودة والإدارة على المستويين الأكاديمي والمهني. عمل في عدة مناصب أكاديمية، ومنها محاضر للجودة الشاملة في معهد إلينوي، واستاذ مساعد للإدارة والحاسوب، ونائب لقسم الإدارة بكلية الشريعة. تولى عدة مناصب، ومن أهمها في وزارة التربية والتعليم بالسعودية، وصولاً إلى مدير عام إدارة التعليم بالمنطقة الشرقية. حاصل على الدكتوراه من معهد إلينوي، وحاصل على الماجستير كذلك من جامعة غرب إلينوي، وحاصل على البكالوريوس من جامعة الإمام محمد بن سعود الإسلامية. المشارك الثاني مستر راسل لونغمير is the CEO of EFQM and was previously the CEO of the British Quality Foundation, with extensive experience working at KPMG, IBM, and PwC on the US, Europe, and Asia. Rasul has been constantly lead a large-scale change on transformation for organization. He has advised some of the world's largest companies on how to manage change. He has a diversity, and when I look to his CV, he's been working all over the world, China, Middle East, all over. And before he is being consulting, he used to work on the investment bank in London and New York. So today we will have two modules of the quality management on education. The first one, we will go with Dr. Abdurrahman, and he will present to us مشروع النموذج العربي للجودة. فيتفضل مشكورا.
شكرا دكتور راشد، ويعطيكم العافية إن شاء الله. أولا أنا أشكر مؤسسة حمدان بن راشد المكتوم للأداء التعليمي المتميز على جهودها المتميزة في تحفيز وتكريم وتشجيع حقيقة المواهب والكفاءات المتميزة. وأيضا نحن سعداء اليوم بتوقيع شراكة نوعية بمركز اليونسكو الإقليمي للجودة والتميز في التعليم، وأيضا مؤسسة حمدان بن راشد المكتوم للأداء التعليمي المتميز. ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يحقق إن شاء الله الطموحات بإذن الله تعالى. أسعد الله صباحكم أو بالخير أو مساءكم بالخير والمسرات والمزيد من الإنجازات. واسمحوا لي أني أبدأ بآية قرآنية. الله سبحانه وتعالى يقول: إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. وقال الرسول اللهم صل وسلم عليه: إن الله يحب إذا عمل أحدكم عملا أن يتقنه. اليوم سنتحدث ولدينا وقت قصير جدا لعل نتيح فرصة الأسئلة عن مشروع النموذج العربي للجودة والتميز في التعليم. هذا المشروع تم الموافقة عليه بعد دراسة مستفيضة في مركز اليونسكو الإقليمي للجودة والتميز في التعليم التابع لمنظمة اليونسكو، مقره المملكة العربية السعودية، ويحتضن هذا المركز في مجلس إدارته وزراء التربية والتعليم في الدول العربية، وأيضا البنك الدولي وغيره من المنظمات المحلية والإقليمية والدولية. وتمت الموافقة بالإجماع من أصحاب الشأن ومتخذي القرار على مشروع النموذج العربي للجودة والتميز في التعليم. كيف اليوم في هذا المنتدى الدولي للابتكار في التعليم أن نجعل هذه النماذج تحقق إن شاء الله المأمول والمنشود؟ دعونا ننظر إلى هذه الصور. لعل الصور تتحدث. قد يقول قائل مثل ما ذكر السيد ريكاردو: هل نستطيع أن نحقق الانوفيشن أو الابتكار في التعليم في ظل هالتحديات؟ لدينا زلازل، لدينا فقر، لدينا كورونا، لدينا تصحر، لدينا مناخ، لدينا بيئة، لدينا كثير من الأمور. في الإجابة نحن نقول كما قال رسولنا الكريم: تفاءلوا بالخير تجدوه. نعم، في ظل كل هذه التحديات ينبغي أن ننتمي للمدرسة الإيجابية التفاؤلية. نستطيع أن نحقق الابتكار في التعليم عندما نكون متفائلين ومتوجين بالأمل والعمل. الابتكار بشكل عام هو منتج وعملية جديدة محسنة تختلف اختلاف كبير طبعا عن المنتجات والعمليات السابقة اللي تم استخدامها. في التعليم يعتبر نظرية أو تربوية جديدة أو نهج جديد لعملية تعلم، أسلوب التعلم والتعليم أو أداة تعليمية عند تنفيذها ينتج تغيير كبير في عملية التعليم والتعلم الذي يؤدي إلى تعلم الطلبة بشكل أفضل. وأذكركم هنا، وهي نقطة في غاية الأهمية، دعائم الجودة في التعليم في تقرير اليونسكو اللي ترى أن التعليم، هذه رسالة اليونسكو، التعليم يغير مسار الحياة. يغير مسار الحياة من خلال ماذا؟ من خلال تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة، وعلى وجه الخصوص الهدف الرابع من أهداف التعليم اللي هو ضمان التعليم الجيد والمنصف والشامل للجميع وتعزيز فرص التعلم مدى الحياة. دعوني أذكركم بالأربع الدعائم، وهذه نركز عليها كثيرا، وهي تعليم للتعلم. اليوم إن أردنا ابتكار في التعليم ينبغي أن ننظر إلى هذه الأربعة وكيف نحقق هذه المعادلة الرباعية: تعليم للتعلم، وتعليم للعمل، وتعليم للعيش بإيجابية مع الآخرين، وتعليم الطلبة ليكونون. هذه المعادلة الرباعية إذا استطعنا أن نحققها سنحقق بإذن الله تعالى الابتكار. إذن هدف الابتكار هو تحسين جودة التعليم. واليوم كثرة التعاريف اليوم في قضية جودة التعليم. اليوم جودة التعليم والتعلم جعل التعليم والتعلم متعة وبهجة وفائدة. لا يمكن أن يتحقق ابتكارا في التعليم إذا لم أكن أنا كطالب وكمعلم وكمنظومة أن يكون هناك نوع من الاستمتاع. ويقولون دائما، وهذه نقطة في غاية الأهمية: قيادة الجودة في التعليم وغيره تتطلب جودة قيادة، وجودة القيادة تتكلم عن هذه على كل المستويات، وتأتي من المستويات العليا إلى مستوى المترجم الحقيقي للتعليم والجودة والابتكار. من هو؟ هو المعلم، هو المترجم الحقيقي للتغيير. فتحية وتقدير لجميع معلمينا. لا يمكن أن نتحدث عن تنظير اليوم. كم مرة تحدثنا بكلمة يجب؟ ممكن تعكسوا لي كلمة يجب؟ يا وجاء وجيم وباء، عكسها وش هي؟ بجي، يقولها بجي. هل فعلا كلمة يجب عندما نطلقها في تحقيق الأشياء تحققت؟ هل تحققت الأهداف الثابتة؟ اليوم نحن في مستقبل غير منظور. هل يمكن تحقيق الأهداف المتغيرة؟ نعم، الإجابة نعم. إذن ليس المشكلة اليوم في التحديات والتغيرات، هي قدرتنا اليوم، وهذا ما نريده. لدينا إشكالية وضعف في قدرة التنبؤ بالاحتياجات والتطلعات. إذن نتكلم عن الابتكار في جودة التعليم. طلعوا معي هالصورة لو تكرمتم، لأن نريد في العرض بشكل مختصر. هذه الأهداف، الهدف الرابع من أهداف التنمية المستدامة اللي ينص على ضمان التعليم الجيد المنصف الشامل للجميع وتعزيز فرص التعلم مدى الحياة. مع كيف نحققها؟ عن طريق ال7 غايات اللي موجودة من 4.1 إلى 4.7. هذه الغايات ب3 وسائل، وهذه بالمناسبة نقطة في غاية الأهمية. الهدف الرابع للأهداف التنمية المستدامة اللي هي 17 هدف، يعتبرون أن الهدف الرابع هو القلب النابض لتحقيق بقية الأهداف، من القضاء على الفقر إلى القضاء التام على المجاعة، إلى قضية الصحة والرفاه الجيدة، إلى أخيراً عقد الشراكة لتحقيق الأهداف. وهذا ما تحقق اليوم، أن عقدنا شراكة تكاملية مع مؤسسة حمدان لتحقيق منظومة أهداف التنمية المستدامة، وعلى وجه الخصوص الهدف الرابع لأهداف التنمية المستدامة. إذا نتكلم اليوم أن الهدف الرابع كفيل بإذن الله تعالى في تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة. وأيضا لو لاحظتوا الآن إيش علاقة النموذج العربي في الجودة؟ النموذج العربي أخذ وقت طويل لأنه مبني على عدة معطيات ليناسب خصوصية الدول العربية، وهو أداة تسهم في تمكين التعليم الجيد لتحقيق الابتكار المستدام. وأنا أركز أيها الأخوة والأخوات على قضية الاستدامة، على قضية العمل المؤسساتي. لا يمكن تحقق الجودة والانتقال إلى الابتكار، تحقيق الابتكار في التعليم، إلا بعمل مؤسساتي واستدامة لهذا العمل. قد البعض يقول هل نحن اليوم بحاجة إلى جودة، بحاجة إلى ابتكار؟ أرجوكم رجاء اطلعوا على بعض نتائج واقعنا في التعليم الدول العربية، وأقول نحن الحمد لله قفزنا قفزات متميزة، ولكن يظل وفق الإمكانات اللي عندنا البشرية، رأس المال البشري والإمكانات المادية والطبيعية، أنا أجزم أن بإمكاننا لازلنا في بداية الطريق. انظروا إلى التقدم نحو مؤشرات الهدف الرابع من أهداف التنمية المستدامة. اليوم احنا في تاريخ 2023، باقي لنا 7 سنوات للوصول إلى 2030. ولاحظوا معي الاحمرار الموجود في النموذج في المؤشرات الخاصة بالهدف الرابع، أحمر، وأحيانا بدون ديتا معينة، وأحيانا لازلنا دون المستوى. فهذا يتطلب أن نحول الأحمر هذا إلى أن يكون إن شاء الله تعالى عندنا إخضرار في كل المؤشرات، ونصل إلى ما يسمى بالابتكار الأخضر حتى نحقق الجودة. أيضا في مؤشر المعرفة العالمي 2022، مؤشر البحث والتطوير والابتكار، أين نحن اليوم؟ نحن نستطيع بإذن الله تعالى بتوفيق من الله ثم دعم القيادات بإذن الله أن نحن نصل ونحقق اتجاهات إيجابية وتحسن ملحوظ في مؤتمر أو في مؤشر المعرفة العالمي للابتكار. وأيضا لاحظوا معي في نتائج الدراسات الدولية، البيزا والبيرز والتيمز، أين نحن؟ نستطيع إن شاء الله بإذن تعالى أن نتخطى ونكون فوق المتوسط في تحقيق المأمول في نتائج الدراسات، وهذه أيضا مؤشر من المؤشرات. وأنا ذكرت أن هذه بعض المؤشرات، لأننا إذا أردنا نتكلم عن جودة التعليم نتكلم عن KSA، ليس كينجدم وسعودي أرابيا في هذا السياق، هي knowledge وسكيلز واتيتيودز، مهارات، معارف متجددة ومهارات حياتية متجددة، وأيضا قيم متجددة. نحتاج أن فعلا يكون عندنا شيء ثلاثي بإذن الله تعالى. النموذج العربي بشكل مختصر هو يمثل التزام باحتياجات تطلعات نظم التعليم في الدول العربية لتعزيز التنافسية في مخرجاتها على الصعيد العالمي، وإنجاز الهدف الرابع من خطة التنمية المستدامة اللي هو ضمان التعليم الجيد والمنصف والشامل للجميع، تعزيز فرص التعلم من خلال دعمه لثقافة الجودة بما يعزز قدرة المؤسسات على الاستجابة لمتطلبات شروط التطوير سواء داخلها أو خارجها، من خلال، وهذه نقطة في غاية الأهمية، تحليل النظم التعليمية والاستفادة من الممارسات الفضلى عالميا، ومراجعة أداء المؤسسات وتعديل تأمين مردودية عالية وفاعلية حاسمة وكفاءة قصوى. قد البعض يقول نحن نهتم بالنتيجة. نحن اليوم تعدينا إخواني وأخواتي قضية الحديث عن النتيجة، لأن أي عمل وإن كان غير صائب سيحقق لك نتيجة. نحن اليوم نتكلم عن القيمة المضافة، عن الأدد فاليو الإيجابي في تحقيق مفهوم جودة التعليم. لذلك علينا تطوير معايير عربية للجودة والتعليم تسهم في دعم متطلعات مجتمعاتها العربية نحو تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة. ودعما لذلك جاء النموذج العربي يستند لمفهوم تميز الأداء من خلال إطار فكري واضح يعتمد على التكامل والترابط والتفكير المنظومي، ويتضمن منهجيات ومعايير ومؤشرات أداء وأداة قياس. الميزة في هذا النموذج أنه أخذ وقت طويل، وأيضا مشارك فيه جميع الدول العربية وجميع الخبراء، حتى يكون النموذج أيضا نموذج عربي واقعي ملموس يسهم في تحقيق جودة تعليمية ويسهم في تحقيق الابتكار مبني على خصوصية دولنا العربية. أيضا نقطة مهمة، أهمية المشروع يسهم في تحقيق مؤشرات الهدف الرابع، استجابة الدول العربية لمشروع أهمية تعزيز الجودة خاصة في ظل من تحديات غير مسبوقة. أيضا مبرهنة التجارب والأبحاث أن نماذج الجودة لا يوجد نموذج عالمي واحد. نماذج الجودة ممكن تسهم في تحقيق التغير المطلوب. وأيضا توصية مجلس إدارة المركز، ونحن أخذنا التوصية بقرار من أصحاب الشأن من وزراء التربية والتعليم في الدول العربية، هذا يعطي قوة لموضوع التبني. وأيضا نتائج الورش الإقليمية اللي عقدها المركز أكدت على أهمية هذا النموذج. وأيضا نتائج المركز والدراسة البحثية اللي هي دراسات ميدانية إقليمية، نأمل إن شاء الله أنكم تحصل لكم الفرصة تطلعون عليها. وأيضا التنبؤ بمستقبل جودة التعليم. لعلكم أيها الأخوة والأخوات، جائحة كورونا أوجدت انقطاع تاريخي كبير في منظومة التعليم، لكن هل كانت إيجابية أم سلبية؟ نحن ننظر لها أنها إيجابية. لعلها في هذه المحنة تحولت إلى منحة، وجعلتنا نفكر تفكير مو الصناديق خارج الصناديق، ما في صناديق أساسا، تفكير جذري بالكامل في منظومة التعليم، لا سيما في ظل قدوم ما يسمى بالذكاء الاصطناعي وغيره. هل سيبقى المعلم موجود؟ نعم سيبقى المعلم، لكن ستتغير أدوار المعلم. أهداف المشروع مثل ما ذكرنا بناء مؤشرات جودة، وأيضا التعرف على الخيارات المتاحة لآليات العمل، وأيضا وضع آليات دعم اتخاذ القرار، وتطوير نموذج معياري شامل. وهذا بالمناسبة النموذج ليس نموذج تقييم بقدر ما هو أداة تحفيزية تشجيعية، بنش مارك، مقارنة مرجعية أيضا للجهة حتى تطور من منظومة التعليم. وأيضا التعاون والتكامل مع المنظمات الإقليمية. نحن لا ندعي أن هذا النموذج هو الأمثل، لكن نقول أن التعاون والتكامل مع المنظمات الإقليمية والعالمية بجودة التعليم يجعل هذا النموذج العربي قابل للتغيير والتبديل والتطوير وتحقيق المراد بإذن الله تعالى. أبرز الملامح عشان ما أريد أن أطيل، إطار معياري في هذا النموذج للجودة والتميز يتسم بالبعد الإرشادي والعملي، وانبثاقه أيضا من احتياجات. وهذه نقطة مهمة، إذا أردت تجعلني أنفذ لشيء اشركني في التخطيط. فإذا ما أبني النموذج على احتياج وتطلعات الدول، وأيضا المرونة وقابلية التطبيع، وإطار أيضا عمل مشترك يساعد في توحيد عمل المؤسسات وتحفيز وتقدير التطبيقات والممارسات. أيضا إسهام في دعم برامج وزارات التعليم، وقياس في تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة بالذات الهدف الرابع، وقياس وتقويم أيضا التقدم المحرز في تعزيز الجودة المستدامة، وأخيرا تعزيز التعلم المتبادل من أفضل الممارسات في جودة التميز التعليم. مراحل العمل احنا انتهينا في التهيئة والإعداد، وأيضا المرحلة الثانية هي مرحلة بناء النموذج، المرحلة الثالثة هي تجريب النموذج، المرحلة الرابعة اعتماد النموذج، والمرحلة الخامسة هل انتهينا من النموذج؟ هل من مزيد؟ نحن نتكلم عن مرحلة التعلم والابتكار، نريد أن نطور، لأن الجودة هي مرحلة أو رحلة مستمرة وليست محطة وصول. كل ما وصلنا إلى نقطة تكون النهاية هي بداية لمرحلة جديدة. الابتكار من خلال جودة التعليم لازم نتفق على أنها تحقيق التنمية المستدامة بالذات الهدف الرابع، وأيضا أذكركم أيها الأخوة والأخوات إن جودة التعلم للجميع هي جودة التعلم من الجميع. النموذج العربي هو الإسهام في تمكين التعليم الجيد لتحقيق الابتكار المستدام لرفاه الجميع. قبل أن أختم بكلمة شكرا لكم، أود أن أذكر نقطة في غاية الأهمية، وهي نركز على نقطة أن الدراسات اللي نتج عنها هذا النموذج نتائج دراسات موجودة في المركز، وأتمنى يمكن الاطلاع عليها. وأيضا سؤال أريد أتركه لكم: هل يمكن تحقيق الأهداف المتحركة في ظل تغير كبير في العالم كله؟ هل استطعنا أن نحقق أهداف في ظل الأهداف الثابتة؟ فما بالنا في مستقبلنا الآن القريب جدا أن بتكون عندنا أهداف ليست ثابتة لتحقيقها، بل أمامنا أهداف متغيرة، وهذا يتطلب منا تقوية التنبؤ بمستقبل جودة التعليم. والمركز بإذن الله تعالى لديهم قريبا ملتقى عالمي لاستشراف مستقبل جودة التعليم في الدول العربية. وأختم أن التحديات اللي تواجهنا أن قمة التعليم، قمة تحول التعليم التي عقدت في سبتمبر 2022 في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، ركزوا على 5 مسارات للعمل، وهذه نقطة مهمة: أن تكون لدينا مدارس شاملة صحية آمنة وأيضا منصفة. مسار العمل الثاني وهي نقطة في غاية الأهمية، اللي هو التعلم والمهارات من أجل الحياة ومن أجل العمل ومن أجل التنمية المستدامة. لذلك البعض يقول: هل تعليمنا يفترض أن يكون تعليم للعمل؟ أنا ذكرت الدعائم ال4: هو تعليم من أجل الحياة ومن أجل المهارات ومن أجل ماذا؟ من أجل التنمية المستدامة. ومسارات العمل الثالث وهو المعلمون، هم اللي الآن يجب التركيز عليهم واستقطاب المعلمون. المسار العمل الثالث المعلمون ومهنة التدريس والتدريس. ولذلك حري بنا اليوم أن نختار أفضل المعلمين ونحفزهم ونرفع من مكانتهم في المجتمع، وكما قال رسولنا الكريم: إنما بعثت معلما. رقم 4 مسار العمل التعلم الرقمي والتحول، وهذه نقطة في غاية الأهمية. اليوم لا نستطيع أن نتجاوز التقنية. وآخر مسار وهي المسار الخامس: تمويل التعليم. تمويل التعليم ليس إنفاق أيها الإخوة والأخوات، بقدر ما هو استثمار في رأس المال البشري. في الختام أسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يجعلنا وإياكم من المجودين والمبتكرين والمستمتعين في أعمالنا، إنه سميع مجيب. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
لا عليك. شكرا دكتور، بارك الله فيك. الله يحفظك. يعطيك العافية دكتور. إذا نتفق أن تسهم جودة التعليم في الابتكار دورا حاسما في تحقيق أهداف التنمية والتحديات المستقبلية وخلق جودة حياة أفضل للمجتمع. لكن بعض الأسئلة التي تدور: ما هي المؤثرات التي تؤثر على الابتكار أو في تحقيق الابتكار؟
جيد، سؤال جدا ممتاز. أنا يمكن ذكرت منذ قليل أن أمامنا تحديات كثيرة: تحديات الزلازل، تحديات الفقر، تحديات استقطاب معلمين متميزين، المناخ. اليوم يتكلمون عن التعليم الأخضر والاستثمار الأخضر. فنحن محتاجين اليوم في قضية حتى نكون العوامل مؤثرة في الابتكار أن تتحول هذه التحديات إلى إمكانياتنا في المعالجة لها. واليوم حتى نصل إلى تحقيق ابتكار نوعي يتطلب منا القدرة على التنبؤ بهذه التحديات ووضع الحلول الناجعة لها. ولذلك كثير من الجهات للأسف الشديد، وأنا يمكن تعاملت مع بعض الجهات، قضية وهي نقطة في غاية الأهمية: تحديد التعريف العملي للجودة في التعليم والابتكار. إذا لم يكن لدينا تعريف عملي للجودة والتعليم في الابتكار فتصبح البوصلة حقتنا غير واضحة. لذلك أهمية التركيز في قضية البوصلة حتى يكون نستطيع أن نحقق الابتكار وتكون المنظومة جميعا معنا في نفس التوجه اللي نحن نسير إليه حتى يكون عملنا مركز.
بارك الله فيك. بكل أمانة بعد العرض المتميز اللي قدمته أنا اقتنعت في المشروع العربي، لكن ليش هذا النموذج العربي في الجودة والتميز في التعليم؟
جميل. مثل ما ذكرت منذ قليل، مركز اليونسكو الإقليمي للجودة والتميز في التعليم أنشئ، هو الوحيد من نوعه وهو الوحيد اللي يضم في جنباته في مجلس إدارة وزراء التربية والتعليم معني بجودة التعليم. والمركز رؤيته هو مركز إقليمي موثوق في جودة وتميز التعليم في الدول العربية، فحري بنا أن نركز على ما خصص لنا في المركز كتوجه له التركيز على جودة التعليم في النموذج العربي في جودة التعليم وتميز الدول العربية بحكم رؤية ورسالة المركز في تحقيق جودة التعليم في الدول العربية.
إذن كل الأبحاث اللي تخص المركز قائمة على أو مختصة بالدول العربية.
في الدول العربية نعم، وإحنا دراساتنا تركز على الدول العربية ويصير في لها مقارنة مرجعية مع الدول المتقدمة، لأن ذكرت منذ قليل وهي نقطة في غاية الأهمية، الاستفادة من أفضل الممارسات المثلى على مستوى العالم حتى نكون كيف نصل لهذا الجودة وهذا الابتكار مع مراعاة خصوصيتنا وهويتنا واحتياجاتنا. هذه نقطة في غاية الأهمية. لذلك نريد أن احنا نخرج أن يكون عندنا مواطن أو طالب عالمي منافس في تحقيق الجودة والتميز. لذلك لابد أن يكون النموذج العربي يواكب أيضا التطلعات المستقبلية، وأيضا لا يقل بأي حال من الأحوال عن أي نماذج أخرى، بل يتكامل مع هذه النماذج لتحقيق المأمول والمشهود.
شكرا دكتور، بارك الله فيك ويعطيك العافية. Now I'll go to Mr. Russell and he will present to us the EFQ model and Hamdan model.
Thank you.
To the right.
That's it. It's always the technology. Can you imagine all the investment, the innovation, the good practices of DEWA, RTA, BMW, Siemens, Bosch, and Huawei being shared with our schools? That's the dream, and that was the vision that the Hamdan Foundation had when we started working with them. How can we make sure that students, schools, teachers, and communities are outstanding? We have to make sure our schools are outstanding, and we have to share good practice. It's not just about copying other schools or copying other teachers. It's about taking the best practice in the world. Let me just talk a little bit about EFQM, and then I'll talk a little bit about our project with the Hamdan Foundation. We're a not-for-profit organization, and we were set up to ensure that organizations are always improving, because if our organizations improve, our communities improve, and if our communities improve, then society improves. We work with all the biggest companies in the world, and nearly 50,000 companies have worked with us, and they're charities, educational establishments, and the largest companies. We have quite a history of education. Here are just some names of universities. Our chairman is the CEO of a college. And our presence in South America is actually dominated by our use of the model, the EFQM model, there. The EFQM started 30 years ago, and we created an excellence model, a total quality model. And this was about looking at the organization as a holistic entity. Who are your stakeholders? What's your ecosystem? What are the mega trends? And how does your organization respond to them? 4 years ago, we sat down with Hamdan and we decided to create a version of the EFQM model that was 100% focused on schools. And we had a dream that if we could get schools to use this, they would improve, they would learn, they would develop, they would have a growth mindset. The EFQM model is based on 3 major principles: direction, why do you exist? Your culture, your purpose, your strategy. The second one is, how do you achieve that purpose or that why? How do you execute? Who are you trying to please? What value do you create? And lastly, what are you expecting at the end of it? What results are you wanting? And that's the basis of the EFQM model, and it's the basis of the EFQM Hamdan education model. So we wanted to create an award where schools could be rewarded for great practice, but mostly where they would get a lot of feedback. They would be coached and they would feedback. All schools are inspected, but this was a different type of evaluation. It was a coaching, collaborative. It was focusing on what you do well and how you can do it better. And we wanted to create an award that did that. This year, we ran our first cycle. And it's been amazing, the feedback we've got. We really wanted to motivate schools about moving forward, learning, not just about inspection. We didn't want teachers bogged down in having to provide us with lots and lots of information. And we wanted them to showcase their good practice and their innovation. We wanted them, when they talked about their innovations, for us to be able to talk to them about what BMW are doing in that area of culture or purpose. How do Siemens recruit? How do Huawei deal with their stakeholders? If we could take those practices and share them in the school, we would have a much more valuable experience. So after a year of working with 15 schools, what have we discovered? This is the feedback of the schools. And I'm going to say I was interrupted earlier by someone who was a principal of one of the schools who said it was the most developmental and growth experience that she had ever had in 19 years of being involved in education and also as an inspector. The actual style of reflection, where do we sit and how do we go forward, gave the schools room and space to develop an improvement plan. It wasn't just about how can we improve the teaching in that particular class. It was about how can we give back to our community better. So we've done 1 year, and the most important thing is that 13 schools have gone through that initial qualifying period, qualifying cycle, and 1 school has actually achieved a 3-star certificate. So they've been through a full assessment. We've collected more than 50 good practices and innovations amongst the schools, and unbelievably, schools who have never spoken to each other are actually sitting down, talking and sharing, and they're talking the same language, the language of the EFQM Hamdan model. Hopefully this year we kick off and we hope to have at least 5 schools that go through to the actual Hamdan Award. And this is a global award for the best schools. Everybody can start this process. It's very, very simple. There's a free questionnaire on our website. You just go in and you answer the questions and you evaluate yourself. You begin to understand the model, and you'll see that the questions actually ask you about the organization and how your organization can excel and innovate. If you need a full copy, it's available for download and it's free. This was an absolutely inspiring decision to go forward with this. Take the world's most used management model with the most used best practices, which contain innovation and best practice, and combine it with what we can do in schools so that we can make the most outstanding schools. And that is an amazing achievement. And I have to thank the Hamdan Foundation, His Highness, who started this process 4 years ago, and Dr. Khalifa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. The world of today has become more advanced and become more advanced people, student, teacher with different mindset and innovation. What do you think the add value when we are using the Hamdan EFQM on our educational system?
I think, as I talked about, what it doesn't just talk about what schools are doing. It talks about what the best organizations in the world are doing. There's no difference recruiting the best engineers or the best programmers or the best coders at Huawei or BMW or Siemens or GSK in the UK than there is about recruiting the best teachers. If you're going to have a purpose statement or a culture in your organization, there is no better place to learn than another 100 organizations that are doing it amazingly well already.
All right, thank you. And since this experiment and when the assessor visited the school, have you seen the best practice?
I mean, I have such a list of different practices, and I'm sure for different schools and different teachers here and head teachers, they would have seen a lot of these. But this is the first time they've been collected against one single model. We've seen amazing use of data, both for parents, QR codes for allowing parents and teachers to give automatic update feedback, sustainability diplomas in schools so students understand really the essence of sustainability. We've seen one school with a partnership with an NGO in Germany to talk about apprenticeship and developing vocational skills. We've seen amazing initiatives around You Said, We Did, which you see a lot in business. Amazing things like students having a radio station and broadcasting every day, broadcasting the breaks, what's important to them, and also developing at the same time. So they're the good practices we've seen, but also really about how they themselves fit into the community. And there's been a lot of how the schools are giving back to the community, and whether it's growing vegetables or helping those students that need more help. The initiatives have been quite amazing.
All right. So since you have the diversity of going all over the world and with the EFQM, and let's see how far and how close our educational or our school from what you are seeing.
It's really interesting you say that, because one of my team actually said to me that what he has seen in the UAE in the last few months, and he's been working for EFQM 15 years, he's worked with all the best companies in the world. What he said is it puts schools in Europe to shame because of the focus on innovation, investment, and the student. And you would only really get that in the absolute elite schools. And he said in what was happening in schools, even where they had low resources, poor resources, the focus was outstanding. And it's always getting better, always improving, and always wanting to innovate. So I think the schools in the UAE are fabulous. And obviously we had a school in Qatar as well. But I think it's absolutely going to, this type of model and this type of thinking and this type of growth mindset will mean the schools are probably some of the best in the world.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Russell. شكرا دكتور عبد الرحمن. لا يسعني في النهاية. تفضل.
اسمح لي إضافة. We'd like to أحب أضيف الله يجزاكم خير نقطة الحقيقة مهمة في غاية يعني من وجهة نظري. قضية اليوم الحديث عن رشاقة الجودة. اليوم مو قضيتنا في تقارير وأوراق والأمور كذا. ترى المعلم مثقل. أنا أتكلم بلسان المعلمين. كل ما كان هناك رشاقة تكون في متعة يكون في تفكير إبداعي. هذه نقطة. النقطة الأخرى قضية قمة تحويل التعليم، وهي نقطة مهمة. اللي شاف منكم قمة تحويل التعليم ذكروا أن جميع المبادرات ومسارات الخمس اللي ذكرناها يجب أن تتحول تلك المبادرات وهذه التزامات قادة الدول إلى أفعال. إذا نحن نتكلم اليوم على قضية تحويل المبادرات إلى قضية أفعال. النقطة الأخرى هي قضية الجودة الشخصية. اليوم لا يمكن نتحدث اليوم عن جودة مدرسية وجودة مؤسسية ما لم يكن لدينا جودة شخصية. والجودة الشخصية 3 عناصر مهمة للغاية. أول نقطة في جودة الشخصية تمتع الشخص معلم أو غيره بالسمات الشخصية الإيجابية التفاؤلية حتى ينقل للطلبة المتعلمين التفاؤل من أجل الإبداع والابتكار. هذه نقطة. وأيضا يتمتع بالعلاقات الإنسانية المتوازنة. كل ما كان القائد معلم أو غيره يتسم بالتواضع استطاع أن يكون يوجد التأثير. والنقطة الثالثة في عنصر جودة الشخصية هي قضية الأداء الفائق للعمل. وأختم بآية قرآنية جدا في غاية الأهمية هنا في هذا المكان. آية قرآنية: يا أيها الذين آمنوا لما تقولون ما لا تفعلون كبر مقتا عند الله أن تقولوا ما لا تفعلون. هذا ترجم في كتاب ترجم العديد من اللغات عنوانه لما تقولون ما لا تفعلون. اليوم ما بقد كلام نستطيع يجب وينبغي الكلام اللي نتحدث اليوم عنه ينبغي أن يتحول إلى تطبيق وتطبيق واقعي حتى نرى بإذن الله تعالى الأثر الملوش بإذن الله تعالى. وآسف عليه طالب.
جزاك الله خير. بارك الله فيك. لا يسعني في الختام إلا أن أشكر مؤسسة حمدان بن راشد للأداء التعليمي المتميز على هذه المبادرة وعلى هذا المنتدى. جزاكم الله الخير وبارك الله فيكم. شكرا.
شكرا دكتور راشد.
بارك الله فيك. جزاك الله.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. جزاك الله خير.
نشكر الدكتور راشد الريامي لإدارته هذه الجلسة القيمة وسعادة الدكتور عبد الرحمن والسيد راسل. سيداتي وسادتي، في هذه الأجواء الثرية بالآراء والتداولات بشأن محاور مهمة في التعليم، نواصل منتدانا بجلسة حوارية ثانية يتحدث فيها عدد من الخبراء والمختصين المميزين حول المبادرات الدولية في تنمية المعلمين وإبداعهم. ويدير الجلسة الدكتور أديب جراح، وهو أستاذ مساعد في كلية الإمارات للتطوير التربوي، فليتفضل مشكورة مع ضيوفه الكرام في هذه الجلسة.
كلنا راح نجلس ما راح نستخدمها. شكرا. Anyway, yes, yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes. I think في كرسينا بس.
هذا نورة. ما في مشكلة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على خير المربين. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this panel discussion in teacher innovation and how can we support teacher innovation and how can we support teacher to be innovative. The title of the session, Global Initiative to Support Teacher Innovation. when the representative from the foundation contacted me about the possibility of me moderating this session, and she told me the title of the session, I was kind of excited because I am a faculty member in a program that is teacher innovation or master of teacher innovation. So to me, it was a possibility to talk about something that I've been doing, that I am aware of, and I am proud of. Dr. Abdul Rahman has mentioned several challenges earlier in the previous session. And we all know, anybody who's interested in education would agree that student, teacher are facing many challenges. And yet, the opportunity are unlimited as well. So it's more important than ever that we support and encourage teachers to be innovative. In this session, we have panelists from around the globe. Thanks for Hamdan Foundation for getting this session together. Panels from around the globe will be discussing initiatives that have enhanced the role of the teachers to transform education in their community and beyond. In addition to this, the panelists will discuss the implication of transforming the teaching profession as a collaborative profession and teachers as innovative, reflective practitioners. My name is Adib Al-Jarrah. I am a faculty of education, and I've been involved in preparing teachers for many years. I have served in the University of Missouri in the US, and I was a faculty member at the United Arab Emirates University. And now I am a proud member of the Emirate College for Advanced Education. I have been focusing in my research how to develop teachers and how we can equip teachers with knowledge, pedagogical content knowledge, with self-efficacy to be effective teachers in their field. I have published numerous articles about the way how to prepare teachers, and I am very excited to be here. Please allow me to introduce my panelists here. I have about 5 to 7 minutes to introduce 5 distinguished guests from around the globe that probably I will need in normal day 2 hours to just to go over their expertise and their experience. So my first guest is Dr. Carlos Vargas. Dr. Vargas is Chief Section for Teacher Development. Okay, I just want to make sure that we are looking to the same slide. Dr. Carlos is Chief Section for Teacher Development at UNESCO and head of the Secretary of the International Task Force in Teacher for Education 2030. He is a sociologist of education, specializing in global education policy. His research focuses in the relationship between education, human rights, and well-being, the orientation and discourse of public policy, and their effect in society. He has worked for university, civil society, international organization, and local government in Latin America and Europe, implementing lifelong learning policy and analyzing their intersection with equity, inclusion, and social justice, and more. Dr. Carlos, it's a pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you very much.
My second guest is Mathilde Bussel. Ms. Mathilde holds a master's degree in clinical psychology. Okay. In clinical psychology and works in CDI, Portugal. CDI is Social and Digital Inclusion as a program manager for Apps for Good, a program that we will be hearing more from Ms. Mathilde in a few minutes, inshallah. She is certified project manager from the Project Management Institute, BMI, in New Orleans. She participated in a boot camp in social impact and innovation promoted by the European Investment Bank Institution. It's good to have you, Ms. Mathilde.
Thank you so much.
Okay, my third guest, Dr. Rima Karami. Dr. Rima Karami is an associate professor of educational administration and policy and leadership at the American University of Beirut. She is the chairperson of Department of Education, AUP, and the program advisor for the Educational Management and Leadership Program. She holds a PhD in education from Portland State University with a specialty in K-12 educational administration and supervision, with a focus in school principalship, organizational change, and educational policy. Dr. Karami is a director and the principal investigator of Tamam project, which we will be hearing again more from Dr. Karami about this project, that has partnered in more than 72 schools and it operates in 9 Arab countries. Tamam project is funded through a grant by the Arab Thought Foundation and received additional funding from Lore Foundation, the Ta'awun Association, and Maymuna Organization, and was one of the recipients of the 21-22 UNESCO Hamdan Prize for Teacher Development. Dr. Rima, ahla wa sahla fiki. My fourth guest, my colleague, Dr. Ahmed Al-Kavi. Dr. Al-Kavi is an assistant professor in the Foundation of Education Department, College of Education at the United Arab Emirates University. He is currently serving as director of the Emirate Institute for Learning Outcome Assessment at UAE, as well as the coordinator of the Master of the Educational Innovation Program. He has a PhD in Education Administration and Policy with emphasis in supervision from the University of Georgia, Athens in 2019. Dr. Al-Kabi also has 2 master's degrees, the first in school leadership from the United Arab Emirates University, and the second is from the Ohio State University. Dr. Kabi, ahlan wa sahlan fik. My last but not least, Al-Ustadha Noor Al-Hammadi, and I would like to introduce her in Arabic if you don't mind. Al-Ustadha Noor Al-Hammadi, معلمة من 9 سنوات، حاصلة على ماجستير القيادة الابتكارية ودبلوم تربية الموهوبين. شاركت في العديد من المؤتمرات والبرامج الدولية والمحلية لوزارة التربية والتعليم، مثل برنامج سفراؤنا منذ عام 2016 للعام 2022 في العديد من الدول، منها منتدى لندن العلمي الدولي 58، فنلندا، كلية ترينيتي، جامعة دبلن بإيرلندا، جامعة أكسفورد، بالإضافة إلى مبادرة أتمنى بالكويت والمخيم التدريبي بسلطنة عمان. حاصلة على جوائز تميز على مستوى الدولة، أهمها جائزة حمدان للأداء التعليمي المتميز دورة 24، المركز الأول بجائزة الشارقة للتميز التربوي الدورة 28، مشاركة في مجموعة من البحوث التربوية، وحائزة على جائزة أفضل بحث تربوي. أستاذة نورة، أهلا وسهلا فيك.
أهلا فيك.
Okay. As I said earlier, when they contact me about this moderating or being part of this session, I start looking into some of the themes in this about teacher transformation, about teacher as an agent of change. And I start looking what transformation of education mean. And here's the definition that I came up with, or actually I found. Transforming education means empowering students with knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes to be resilient, adaptable, and prepared for the uncertain future. So my question to you, Dr. Carlos, what is the role of teacher in the transformation of education?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Yara. I don't know if you can hear me.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah. Okay. Not yet.
Not yet?
Okay. No. So let's hear.
You remove the mic, I think?
No.
No?
No. He removed the mic.
Well, I can take the.
The translator mic.
Can we check the podium? Maybe you can't do that.
This is the
I think it's-
translator mic.
okay.
He removed this one.
Dr. Carlos?
By mistake, maybe.
They put them in.
This is your turn.
So they change.
It's not working.
Yes. Sure.
Yes, the translator is this one. I see him to remove something.
What?
I see him to remove something. I thought he meant this.
I don't know.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me now? Yes. Hello. Okay. That works.
Okay, it works now.
I'm going back to my. There you go. Very
You
good.
can always count in technology, right?
Indeed, indeed. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Yara. And first of all, good afternoon to everybody. And also would like to congratulate the Hamdan Foundation for the 25th anniversary promoting educational innovation, and to thank you for your invitation today. So the question that Dr. Yara poses is a very important one. I think what you have on your screen is UNESCO's recent publication on reimagining our futures together, which calls for a new social contract for education. As you can see there, basically the publication calls for recasting teaching as a collaborative endeavor. So that is an important objective. Now, the fact that the transformation is collaborative is something that we know, that education itself is collaborative, and however, and teaching should be collaborative, of course. However, promoting collaboration in education is becoming increasingly difficult in societies which are rather individualistic or that promote competition over solidarity, over cooperation. So the issue of recasting teaching as a collaborative endeavor is actually a challenge. And it's actually one that has a number of implications. For example, it has implications as to how we think or how we do teacher policy. Is it collaborative enough? Do teachers participate in educational decision-making from the classroom to the school, but also to the policy? I think that is an implication in terms of social dialogue, who takes part and who decides, who makes educational decisions. Secondly, it has implications in terms of professional development. How do we transition from top-down, vertical, course-based forms of learning to more horizontal forms in which we learn from one another? Examples of that are, for example, communities of practice, communities of learning circles in which teachers exchange their knowledge. And of course, it has pedagogical implications in terms of pedagogies of cooperation, of solidarity, how we, for example, use action research, service learning, how we extend beyond the school and beyond the communities. Now, these implications, and that's what you will have on the screen, presuppose that teachers produce knowledge. And they have a prerequisite that we trust teachers in doing what they have been trained to do, which is basically this kind of adaptation, this innovation that we have been talking about. Now, the trusting teachers as reflective practitioners means that we trust that the knowledge they produce is helpful, it's for them, it's helpful to others, and it actually is helpful to make education policy and educational decisions. So that's one of the key challenges. The second is that teacher development is a lifelong learning process, a journey that doesn't only start with initial teacher training, but it continues throughout life. And as we said, it is learning from one another. Then the role that teachers play needs to be supported by the general public. So we know education, again, is collaborative, and this is beyond the classroom, beyond the school, and beyond the role of teachers. So that is something that we need to take into consideration. And this solidarity has to do as well with providing teachers with the working conditions that they actually need.
This is actually brings me to the second part of the question, which is how can we foster teacher creativity and capacity for innovation? What can we do as a program responsible to prepare teacher? What can we do? How can we foster that creativity in them?
Well, first of all, I would say this is very closely related to the role that teachers can play. We saw during the pandemic that teachers actually adapted education from one way to the next. So they adapted, for example, the content. What was vital, what was important was no longer probably a history lesson, but something around how to take care of themselves and others. During the COVID pandemic, it was a life-saving situation. So adapting content, adapting methodologies, adapting the learning spaces, diversifying the methodologies and ways of teaching. For example, we will hear Matilde will be presenting the experience of Apps for Good, a laureate of the UNESCO Hamdan Prize for Teacher Development, and to how they used technologies to innovate in teacher development. But one important element is that teachers need the space, need the room, need the agency and the autonomy to actually make decisions. So going back to the issue of trusting teachers, one important lesson that we have learned in the pandemic and that we already know is that teachers actually need to be given some ample space, social trust and confidence for them to make educational decisions. So this means, again, that teachers need a specific support as well in order to make use of this autonomy and in order to share the knowledge that they produce and that they can support school communities. The second example that we'll hear from today later from Rima is precisely the Tamam project, which is an example of teacher participation, of teachers having communities of reflection and practice to inform educational reform. So these examples of providing more agency, more autonomy, listening to the voice of teachers who are best placed, they know the realities of learners, of their communities very closely, is something important. So just to wrap it up, I would say, on the one hand, the issue of innovation, fostering the creativity of teachers, and giving them room actually to make educational decisions and exercise pedagogical judgment.
Thank you so much for the wonderful insights.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Matilde, Dr. Carlos mentioned the Apps for Good program, which is to be honest with you, the first time I heard about it, when I start doing my homework about this session. What is such a wonderful program? If you don't mind, please, could you tell us a little bit more? What is Apps for Good program? What is it?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. We are glad to be here to speak about the Apps for Good program. Just to give you a little explanation of what is Apps for Good. So I'm from Apps for Good, Portugal, and Apps for Good is an educational technology program and won in 2020 the Hamdan Prize for Teacher Development, a support for what we have doing with teachers and schools. And the Apps for Good offers schools innovative tech courses available in a platform where students and teachers move through a project-based learning methodology to create mobile apps to solve problems of their community. So that is what the name Apps for Good. So the program gives students the skills, and we are talking about soft skills and digital skills, and the motivation to shape their future with technology, while we are giving teachers the support and the confidence they need to deliver this type of methodologies, and of course with the use of digital schools. So we want to give teachers all the tools, all the resources, and of course the expertise to go further, to introduce innovation into classrooms, and to lead their students to learn more, better, and a very important thing, in a sense of purpose. And let me just share. So our working is based in some pillars. The first thing is related to the role of teachers. So here in Apps for Good, we invite teachers to be more a facilitator and a guide of learning. The second one, we are showing the role technology can play. We are turning students not to be just consumers of technology, but producers, digital makers, and digital makers for good. And the third point that I would like to highlight is the relevance, the good. So we enable students to engage with the problems of their community, showing them that they have a role in finding solutions for our society. And in a time that we are facing some problems like the climate change, the poverty, and other problems that were mentioned in the other panels. So here students can learn with the meaning and based on real life problems.
Thank you so much for sharing this information. Okay, the impact and the evidence of apps for good is obvious in children or in student, but what is the impact in teacher? If you could highlight some of the impact of this program in teachers?
Yes. Thank you for your question. Yes, all of this, of course, is about innovation, and of course we are supporting teachers in innovation, and mainly in 3 points. The first one is our platform. So we give teachers a platform with all the contents, and of course is a collaborative platform. The second point is our expert community that I will explain later. And the third point is our teacher training. So this is the 3 points that we are supporting teachers in innovation. So the first one, the platform. So schools enrolled in the program have access to a platform with all the resources they need to, and of course the teachers need to teach students to build their digital products, and based on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. This is the last goal of the Apps for Good. And the resources can be downloaded, so teachers don't need smartphones or too much computers, so they can be downloaded, and you can apply. So the program is flexible. And another point, our teacher training. So we give teachers this training to give them, of course, the confidence they need to apply the program on classroom. And just to give you an example, we have two types of training. So we have the initial training, which is during 1 day, teachers get a hands-on experience on how to run our project methodology. It's like there will be students for 1 day, and they will move through all the steps until they create their own app for good. And besides that, we have online sessions where we invite experts to speak about the topics that teachers will work on with their students. For example, creativity, how to build an app, how to pitch an idea, a solution. So all these soft skills and digital skills that the job market is demanding from the students. So we invite experts to train teachers, and of course to share more methodologies that can apply on the apps for good. And on these online sessions, we also invite other teachers to promote this peer mentoring, to share their experience, their challenge on the program, their facilitators, which helps this peer work. And the last, our expert community. So we think it's very important to create these partnerships, to create this bridge between the schools and the communities. So we asked our partners, and our partners, I'm speaking about some companies, organizations, associations, local communities that have some employees that can share their experience, their know-how through our students. So these expert sessions is like mentoring sessions, and sometimes is very inspirational for students and teachers. So the impact of the program, of course, the first one is we are showing teachers how to use these digital skills, but with pedagogy, which is very important in this process. And of course, it has an impact on motivation and professional development of teachers. And the last one, and Carlos spoke about this, the collaboration. So we are fostering the multidisciplinary work, which means IT teachers and non-IT teachers are working together in Apps for Good project, which has been an impact on the program.
Thank you so much, Ms. Vittel. Does this program operate in more than one country?
Sorry?
Does it operate in different, than one country, or does it in Portugal only?
Yes. So we are. I'm from Apps for Good Portugal, but we are implemented in UK and other countries like France and Angola and Timor-Leste.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The other project that Dr. Carlos mentioned in his remarks, it's مشروع تمام, which is allow me now to switch to Arabic, please. فكرة مشروع تمام ترتكز على تنمية قدرات التربويين لقيادة التطوير النابع من المدرسة. ولا اسم رائع تمام. What a great name for a project. أهلا وسهلا دكتورة ريما. ما هو مشروع تمام وما هي أهدافه؟
أولاً شكراً كتير على الاستضافة من مؤسسة حمدان وعلى الجائزة وعلى الفرصة بأنه نعرف يعني ناخد مساحة لنعرف مجموعة أكبر من التربويين عن المشروع. ويمكن هلأ الكل حكي عنه، بس أنا بحب أنه أعرف عن تمام وأقول أنه هو مختبر بحثي وحالياً موجود بالجامعة الأمريكية، وهالمختبر البحثي بيهتم بقضايا الإصلاح التربوي وبس بالعالم العربي بشكل خاص، ولكنه بيعتمد مقاربة بحثية خاصة واللي هي تشاركية، بمعنى نحن بنستعمل البحث الإجرائي ولكن نعتبر أن الممارس التربوي هو شريكنا بعملية إنتاج المعرفة، لأنه هذا هو المدخل ليكون في دور فاعل للممارسين التربويين، معلمين أو إداريين على مستوى المدرسة، ليشاركوا بإنتاج المعرفة وبتصميم الاستراتيجيات يلي هي ممكن تساهم بإنجاح الإصلاح التربوي. تمام ابتدى من 15 سنة، وخلال السنوات ال15 تطور لصار شبكة تربوية حالياً تضم 1000 تربوي وممارس تربوي بعدة مواقع، وكذلك بيناتهم باحثين مدربين. هالشبكة التربوية هي فعلياً العنصر الأساسي، العنصر المحرك في قيادة اللي نحن هلأ صرنا بنحكي عنه ومنسميه حركة تمام التطويرية. ما يجمع هذه الشبكة أنه لديها رؤية مشتركة، نحن نطور نحو هدف وليس للتطوير، وهالهدف هو مدرسة متجددة ذاتياً. هالمدرسة المتجددة ذاتياً هي المكان التي يقوم فيها المعلم بالمساهمة الفاعلة في قيادة مبادرات تطويرية، وكذلك في القيام بمساهمات لحتى يعد هالطالب اللي نحن بدنا إياه يكون جزء فاعل وقيادي داخل مجتمعه. المقاربة كمان بتركز كتير على أهمية أنه المدرسة تضل مرتبطة ارتباط وثيق بمجتمعها وبهموم مجتمعها وسياقها الثقافي. هلأ عنا نظرية بننطلق منها نحن لأنهي التعريف. عندها مرتكزين أساسيين نظريتنا للتغيير بتمام. أول مرتكز هو إنه التغيير ليكون فعال ومستدام يجب أن ينطلق من المدرسة، وحيث يكون فيها للمعلم صوت ودور فاعل بتحديد الأولويات في أجندة الإصلاح التربوي، وبالتالي كذلك في المطالبة بالتغييرات والتعديلات التي يجب أن تحصل على السياسات التربوية. النقطة الثانية بأنه صانعي القرار عندهم مسؤولية كبيرة لدعم هؤلاء المعلمين عن طريق توفير البنى التنظيمية يلي بتسمح لهم انه هن يقوموا يعني يستخدموا مهاراتهم بقيادة التغيير ليقوموا بالابتكار وتشجيعهم على قيادة التطوير، بدل من مجرد اعتبارهم مصدر لتلقي جهة منفذة لمبادرات تصمم خارج إذا بدنا نقول نطاق المدرسة. هيدا وتمام هو الأحرف الأولى من كلمة التطوير المستند إلى المدرسة، وهذا اللي عطى الاسم له.
نعم، شكرا لك دكتورة. الآن ما دام أعطيتينا تعريف عن أهداف تمام، ممكن تحكي لنا كيف تمام كبروجكت بيعزز التيتشر ايجنسي أو وكالة المعلمين وقدراتهم لقيادة التغيير والابتكار؟
بالحقيقة نحن من عملنا هالبحثي اللي خبرتكم عنه صار عنا برامج. أهم برنامج عنا ضمن تمام هو برنامج بناء القدرات القيادية لدى المعلم. نحن برأينا هالمهارات، هالنوع من المهارات، وبالحقيقة نحن بنشتغل على كفايات، وبالتالي نعطي معرفة، نعطي مهارات، وكذلك نعمل على الاتجاهات. هيدا البرنامج بإعطاء هالقدرات القيادية للمعلمين نحن برأينا بنكون اشتغلنا على هالايجنسي، على هالوكالة، وأعديناهم ليمارسوها. الأساس بهيدا البرنامج أنه نحن يمكن مثل ما سمعتوا كمان من كل المتحدثين ومتحدثنا الرئيسي أنه ما بنشتغل فقط على مهارات، بنشتغل على تغيير بالمنحى التفكيري للمعلم. وهدفنا الأساسي أنه يصير في تغيير بنظرة هالمعلم والمعلمة لنفسها، لهويتها المهنية، لما تراه أو يراه مسؤوليتها بعملها التربوي. نحن لسنا فقط مسؤولين عن إعطاء الدرس ضمن صفوفنا، وإنما هويتنا المهنية تتضمن كذلك قيادة التطوير والمساهمة به. هيدا واحدة من النقاط اللي كتير أساسية. وضمن هالمسؤولية إنه بقيادة التطوير يجب دائما الاهتمام والوعي، لأنه نحن بنشوف إنه المعلم هو أهم خبير، ليس فقط بالبيداغوجيا وليس فقط بطرائق التعليم، وإنما أهم خبير بالمتعلم اللي هو بين إيديه، بالسياق الذي يعيش فيه هذا المعلم. وبالتالي وقت بنشتغل على بناء القدرات القيادية مهم كتير عنا إنه نلفت نظر ونشجع هالمعلم إنه يهتم بسياقه وبالأولويات اللي موجودة بهالسياق للتجديد. الأفكار المبتكرة بتصير متفاعلة ومنبثقة من هيدول الأولويات. النقطة الثانية المهمة كتير عنا إنه هالهوية المهنية ليست معزولة، يعني المعلم لا يعمل بعزلة، المعلم مهني، المعلم يجب أن يعمل مع زملائه، يتعاون معهم. وبالتالي نحن بالمشروع ننطلق من فريق عمل، لا ندرب فرديا، لا، البرنامج يتضمن تكوين فريق عمل من المعلمين، لأنه بالأساس هو انخراطهم بالتفكر بالتقصي ليس فرديا، ولكن بحوارات تفكرية، بعمل تشاركي تقصي مع بعضهم، لأنه هذا ما سينتج المعرفة والابتكار وينشط الابتكار عند كل واحد منهم. العمل التعاوني المهني جزء من كمان هويته المهنية للمعلم، والانخراط بالحوارات التفكرية. آخر نقطة كمان بدي ضوي عليها هو موضوع إعطائهم الثقة بقدرتهم، ويمكن هيدا اللي كمان نذكر شو شاهدنا هالمعلم عمل وقت الجائحة، وكيف تفاعل مع هالواقع الغير متوقع. نحن بنعتبر بأنه المهني شخص يتفاعل مع المستجدات، وإن كانت هالمستجدات هي متطلبات العصر الحديث، ولا كانت هالمستجدات أزمات. ومثل ما كلكم بتعرفوا عالمنا العربي يرزح تحت أزمات كبرى عندنا دول كثيرة وضمن الدول اللي هي مشاركة بتمام ترزح تحت أزمات كبرى. نحن بيهمنا هالمعلم المهني يكون عنده ثقة بأنه ضمن الموارد الموجودة بين إيديه هو قادر أو هي قادرة أنها تجدد وتحسن. رح أنهي كيف كمان برأينا بنبني هالايجنسي، هو لأنه نحن بنركز على قدرات قيادية كمان تتضمن مهارات لبناء شراكات مع العناصر الأساسية يلي هي تشارك بالتربية. إعداد الطفل للمجتمع لا يقتصر فقط على تعليمه بالمدرسة، هي عملية في عناصر أخرى، في فاعلين آخرين بيشاركوا بهالعملية، وطبعا على رأس القائمة هو الأهل. نحن بنشتغل كمان على إعطائهم مهارات لبناء شراكات مع الأهل، لكذلك بناء شراكات مع المجتمع المحلي، وبشكل خاص عم نشتغل هلأ حاليا نحن وعم نستعد لها ما بعد الجائحة والعصر الديجيتال اللي نحن داخلين عليه، على بناء يعني إعداد المعلم ليتعاطى مع الطالب بنية إعداد بناء قدراته القيادية للطالب. نحن نؤمن أنه طالب المستقبل، الطالب اللي هلأ بين أيدينا، يجب كذلك أن يساهم بعملية التطوير التربوي، ونعرف نحن نعده ونفتح له مساحة ليتفاعل مع أساتذته إذا عن جد بدنا نوصله ليقدروا يوصل على المجتمع تبعيته وفعلا يعمل أثر. آخر نقطة كمان بنعد عليها، مثل ما قلت لكم نحن شبكة مهنية، ولكن تعرفوا أنه مهنة التعليم بشكل عام بالطريقة اللي نحن بنوزع ساعاتنا، بنشتغل كل واحد بصفه، مهنة فعليا بتعزلنا عن بعض. ما مهم بس نجتمع، ما مهم نلتقى بملتقيات، مهم أنه نحن نكون عندنا مهارات نعرف نتصرف ضمن شبكة مهنية، وهيدا جزء من المهارات كمان اللي بنشتغل عليها ببرنامج تمام لبناء القدرات، واللي هي إعداد هالأشخاص هالمعلمين لأنهم يتفاعلوا كمهنيين مع بعضهم، ليس فقط داخل مدرستهم إنما عبر مدارس أخرى. ونفتخر بأنه هذا الشيء عم يصير بمنطقتنا العربية، يعني من بلد لبلد، مش بس من مدرسة لأخرى ضمن البلد الواحد. هيدا كيف نحن بنشتغل.
يعطيك ألف عافية دكتورة، ما شاء الله. مشروع تمام هو متواجد في 72 مدرسة وفي 9 دول عربية.
صحيح، هلأ موزع على 9 دول عربية. وكمان يمكن اللي حبيت أني ألفت له بأنه برنامجنا لنقدر نحقق كل هيدول الأشياء، لأنه هيدا مش يجب أن نقوم بذلك، فعلا أنا أخبركم عما نقوم به والحمد لله شفنا نتائج له. هو نعتمد مقاربة كتير مختلفة. يعني وقت مندرب نحن نحترم صوت المعلم، نحترم إنه هيدا المعلم جاي لعنا أصلاً بإجابات بأفكار. كجهة مدربة لا نعتبر أنفسنا نحن اللي عم نجيب لهم الإجابات، إنما نبني هالإجابات مع بعض. عندنا ثقة كتير عالية بقدراتهم ومنعكس لهم هيدا الشيء بمعرفتهم بحكمتهم، لا سيما بالنسبة للسياق. بنعمل متابعة على فترة طويلة، يعني نحن لا نعتمد على ورشات العمل، ولكن ليس فقط على ورشات العمل، نعتمد كثيرا على المتابعة، على الرعاية المهنية يلي بتعطي توازن بين تحديهم لأنه بدنا إياهم يتحدوا ذاتهم، ولكن بنفس الوقت بننتبه كثير على دعمهم وتحفيزهم ليضلوا مستمرين بهالمهمة الشاقة، لأنه التغيير وقيادة التغيير مهمة شاقة ومش سهلة إنه الواحد يشتغل عليها. وكمان مندل عم نواكبهم ونتواصل معهم بشكل خاص ليوصلوا ليختبروا تجربة نجاح، لأنه كلياتنا بنعرف إذا أنا هلأ جيت قلت لكم فيكم تطوروا وفيكم تعملوا مشروع، أول شيء حيطلع بأذهانكم هي الصعوبات التي ستصطدموا فيها ضمن سياقكم. مشان هيك نحن بنضل مواكبين بعد الإعداد، مواكبين هالفريق العمل لحتى هالفريق العمل ينهي مشروع التطويري بنجاح. وجزء من دورنا كمدربين نعطيهم التسهيلات ونتفاوض مع السياق والمسؤولين عن القرار بسياقهم ليسهلوا لهم العمل، لأنه مجرد يعني اللي بخبركم عنه أنه مجرد يختبروا هالنجاح يذوقوا طعم هيدا النجاح بيصيروا unstoppable، يعني ما حدا بيقدر يوقفهم، وهيدا يلي بيعطيهم فعلا مكانة ضمن المؤسسة تبعيتهم.
يعطيك ألف عافية دكتورة، ما شاء الله ما شاء الله، شكرا لك.
We can hear in the translation.
The translation, is it working?
Not working.
It's now, you can hear the translation? Okay, now you can. Okay, thank you so much.
اسمح لي اختم
تفضل.
30 ثانية
أكيد.
بس لأقول
أكيد. تفضل.
لأنه كتير بيهمني، خاصة الدكتور شدد كتير
تفضل.
على أهمية العمل، بس لأقول إنه نحن بتمام من نقيس الأثر على على الأساتذة اللي هن شاركوا معنا وفرق العمل، وعندنا كتير صار. إذا بتحبوا هلا الكيو ار كود فيكم تشوفوا التقارير تبعنا يلي بتورجي إنه فعلا عم يكتسبوا هالمهارات اللي نحن عم نحكي عنها. يلي بيعني لي كتير لكم إياه كمان بأنه ليس فقط اكتسبوا مهارات، ولكن صاروا عناصر تغيير أنا بسميها بحب بقلب مدرستهم، معتزين بالسياق وينطلقون من المكان اللي هن موجودين فيه وعندهم فخر بالأصول بالأسيتس الموجودة بمدرستهم. يعني ما بيطلعوا على العيوب، بيطلعوا على الأمور الموجودة بهالمدرسة ليبنوا عليها ويطوروا. وكمان يلي بيصير إنه مجرد ببلش الفريق القيادي يبرز نجمه بالمدرسة، يلي صرنا عم نلاحظ عم نعمله إنه إدارات المدارس عم تاخد قرارات لتعمل تعديلات على التنظيم الإداري، عم تفرغ لهم أوقات أكثر ليساهموا بالتطوير، عم تخلق مجموعات في مدارس عملت مركز بحوث عندها عم تخلق هالمساحات اللي بحاجة إلى الأستاذ أو المعلمة لتمارس التطوير بالمدرسة. وكذلك عم يصير في احتفاء كبير بالنجاحات اللي عم تصير، وبالتالي هذا عم يخلق ثقافة منفتحة على عملية التغيير تحتفي بها بشكل عام بكل هيدي المدرسة. شكرا كثير على الوقت اللي أعطيتني.
شكرا لك دكتورة ريما، ما شاء الله. شكرا على المعلومات عن برنامج تمام وأهدافه وكيف يعزز قدرات المعلمين. شكرا لك. الآن أنتقل إلى my colleague Dr. Ahmed Al-Kabi. Dr. Ahmed, as a faculty in institution or in program that prepare teachers, what are the initiatives related to innovation at the university level that can support teachers in schools?
أول شيء أحب أقول السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And I would like to thank Hamdan Foundation for this invitation and this opportunity. And going back to answer your questions, Dr. Adib, United Arab Emirates University has a priority of creating like industry relevant programs, and it recognizes the importance of incorporating innovation and creativity into education. And to achieve this goal, the Master of Educational Innovation was born and established through the collaboration between United Arab Emirates University, represented by College of Education, and Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum Foundation for Distinguished Academic Performance. This program aims to equip teachers and leaders with the skills and mindsets to be innovative in their teaching and school leadership practices, while also at the same time providing them with a new framework and perspectives to foster innovation and adaptability in this rapidly evolving field of education. And within the Master of Educational Innovation degree, students can choose between two concentrations of study, as you can see here in the slide. Both concentrations offered by the program are listed on each side with all courses. And from the program timelines, you would see that students can wrap up and finish the program in just 3 semesters. And besides, the program is taught in Arabic, offered in face-to-face format classroom setting, offered on the weekends at Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum Center for Giftedness and Innovation. And just a quick note, I wanted to mention that Hamdan Foundation fully sponsors a minimum of 10 students every year to enroll in this Master of Educational Innovation program. The prospective students who meet the qualifying criteria set forth by United Arab Emirates University and Hamdan bin Rashid are eligible to enroll in the program. That being said, however, this program is not only limited to those who receive scholarship from Hamdan Foundation. even individuals from with a background in education who are able to pay by other means for the program are also eligible to apply.
Okay, thank you so much. Could you please just talk to us about in what ways does this program prepare teachers to meet or to tackle future challenges or to become innovative and better educators? How they become better educators as a graduate of this program?
This is an excellent question, Dr. Adib. It's worth mentioning that the program emphasizes the development of scientific research that can be used, to solve problems creatively and effectively in schools. So the Master of Educational program offers teachers and leaders the opportunity to learn how to conduct action research to help them solve any issues, any challenges they may encounter in their schools. And one of unique aspect of the program is that our students are strongly encouraged to present their papers at various innovative papers, at various international conferences. So these assignments, these proposals, these research papers are not just like a requirement for some courses that end up like collecting dust on a shelf somewhere. For example, our students had the chance to travel to Denmark to present their papers, and later on they were able to present 2 more papers at an international conference held in Dubai. And inshallah, Ms. Noura will talk about that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed. This brings me to Ms. Noura, Ms. Noura.
Dr. Adib.
Yes.
I want to say also this kind of experience allowed our students to interact and connect with scholars and researchers from all around the world. And before I end my segment, here is a short video of our Master of Educational Innovation students presenting their action research. And Dr. Rashid, she talked a lot about action research. And they presented this action research at United Arab Emirates University at an action research exhibition that was held like a couple of weeks ago in the month of innovation, February.
Make sure it works.
It's like 1 minute video, 40 seconds. Okay, and I would like to end my segment by saying that it's really a wonderful moment when students can take what they have learned about action research and best practices and share it in a real world scenario that has a direct impact on other educators and their schools. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed. Wonderful. Thank you. Miss نورة، أستاذة نورة، طبعا كخريجة من برنامج ماجستير الابتكار التربوي حديثا، ممكن تكلمينا ما هي أهم الخبرات التي مررتي فيها خلال دراستك في هذا البرنامج؟
بداية السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته جميعا. Good afternoon everyone. بالنسبة لبرنامج ماجستير القيادة الابتكارية، طبعا عزز مهاراتنا من خلال ربط النظريات التربوية والبحوث والتركيز على مهارات البحث العلمي واستخدامها لحل المشكلات التي تواجهنا في العمل بطرق جديدة ومبتكرة. أيضا من خلال نقد وتحليل هذه النظريات ومناقشتها وربطها في واقعنا وبيئاتنا التعليمية. تطرقنا طبعا للكثير من التجارب وطبقنا الكثير من البرامج. طبقنا طبعا الكثير من البرامج والبحوث التربوية اللي كانت مرتبطة في واقعنا، وقمنا بقياس أثر تلك البرامج مع طلبتنا وأيضا مع المعلمين، وقمنا بنقل العديد من هذه الممارسات على مستوى المدارس وعلى مستوى الدولة كذلك. بالإضافة إلى ذلك طبعا يأتي برنامج ماجستير القيادة التربوية كأحد أهم طرق التنمية المهنية والتعلم المستمر لكل معلم ولكل تربوي، ليكون مساهم بإذن الله في تنفيذ مختلف الممارسات التعليمية الحديثة والمبتكرة، لنعكس أثر تلك التنمية المهنية بإذن الله على أبنائنا الطلبة، ليكونون متعلمين ودارسين وخبراء أيضا، نصنع منهم مواهب محترفة وأبطال عالميين يمتلكون مهارات متعددة ومختلفة التخصصات، ويقدمون إسهامات خلاقة بإذن الله لمجتمعنا ولدولتنا وللعالم أجمع بإذن الله.
الله يعطيك العافية أستاذة نورة. في ممكن سؤال لو تكرمتي، متى بدأتي تلاحظي أثر البرنامج على ممارساتك في المدرسة؟
بالنسبة لأثر البرنامج ممكن أقول البرنامج كان مدته 1.5 سنة وانتهينا منه، ولكن الأثر ما زال مستمر. وآخر أثر خلينا نقول تواجدنا مع طلبة الماجستير في مثل هذه المؤتمرات الدولية، والتقائنا مع خبراء نتبادل معهم أفضل الممارسات حول العالم والتي تم مناقشتها الآن. كذلك حضورنا العديد من المنتديات والورش والبرامج مع كلية التربية، قمنا بتنفيذ العديد من الورش والجلسات الحوارية. بالإضافة إلى ذلك ممكن أقول أن البرنامج كان قيمة مضافة ونقطة فارقة لكل طالب ماجستير أضيفت لمسيرته ولإنجازاته، لأن منذ اللحظة الأولى وما زال هذا الأثر مستمر معنا حتى الآن، صنعت لنا الكثير من الفرص الاستثنائية، بالإضافة إلى مخرجات البرنامج اللي أساساً حققناها بمستويات ومؤشرات عالية جداً. فممكن نقول النقطة الفارقة التي صنعتها لنا فتحت أذهاننا على معارف جديدة، أيضاً خلتنا نستمر في طلب المزيد من العلم والمعرفة ونقدم إسهامات لمجتمعنا، طبعاً من خلال الممارسات اللي ذكرها الدكتور أحمد في الجامعة. ولذلك أنا أستغل هذه الفرصة لأشكر كلية التربية على دعمها المستمر، وإدارة الجامعة أيضاً، لأنهم كانوا داعمين دائماً، وكانوا دائماً يحتفون بإنجازات الطلبة، كانوا داعمين دائماً، وهذه لفتة لا يمكن أن أي طالب ينساها. وكذلك أستغل الفرصة أني أنا أشكر مؤسسة حمدان بن راشد، لأنها أيضاً دائماً هي سقف حاضن وبيئة داعمة للمعلمين والمتعلمين.
يعطيك ألف عافية أستاذنا. أنا متأكد إنه طلابك في أيادي أمين أستاذة نورة، يعطيك ألف عافية وأتمنى لك دوام التميز إن شاء الله. We are getting close to the end of our time together. I have a question for everyone. If there is one thing you would like this audience to take away from this session, what it would be? If there is one valuable message that the audience would take away from this, what it would be? This is a question for all of us, and I'm gonna say the same question in Arabic. في نهاية هذه الحلقة النقاشية، إذا كان هناك شيء واحد تود أن يأخذه الجمهور من هذه الجلسة، فماذا سيكون؟
I wrote this down, Dr. Adib.
تفضل دكتور أحمد.
Okay, I wrote without innovation, we will be more likely to be left behind in the education industry, missing out opportunities and becoming more like non-competitive. So to improve the quality of education, we need to keep forward moving and innovating.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed. Anybody else would like to share final thought?
فيني أنا.
تفضلي دكتور.
يمكن اللي بديهم تروحوا فيه إنه نضل متذكرين إنه المعلم هو مهني، هيدي مهنية مش نحن لسنا عمال. المهني معناتها مسؤول عن جودة مهنته، وبالتالي بده على طول ياخذ المبادرة في تطويرها. بدي كمان أقول إنه نحن بمنطقتنا العربية برأيي على هالمفترق بكل العالم عم يحاولوا يرجعوا يعيدوا النظر ويعيدوا اختراع التربية. عندنا فرصة ذهبية إنه نحن نثبت ذاتنا ونطلع بأفكار مجذرة بسياقنا بتشبهنا، وبنفس الوقت تؤكد على قدرتنا على التميز بهالحركة التطويرية التجديدية اللي عم تصير بكل العالم.
شكرا لك دكتورة. Anybody would like to share? Yes, Dr. Carlos, please.
Yeah, perhaps to go back to the issue of the role of teachers in transformation. I think what we need to do again is to trust in teachers that can actually make a difference, that can actually innovate, and that we transform education systems so that we allow them, we prepare them, and we foster their creativity and their innovation. So
very well said.
Once again, it has to do with autonomy, and it has to do with the agency and respect of teachers.
Thank you so much. Very well said. Yes, anybody else?
Yes. Just to add, of course, innovation is important, but sometimes we don't need to change everything. We just need to analyze what is effective to your students, diversify, and of course, balance the different learning styles or different needs. And of course, we need to support teachers on this level to promote learning of quality, equity, and of course, relevance. So, and of course, I agree with Carlos, we need to trust on the potential of teachers to transform and to create and to have this agency for their curriculum design. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Nora?
سأختم كلمتي بمقولة للقائد المؤسس رحمه الله الشيخ زايد بن سلطان رحمه الله، عندما قال الثروة الحقيقية للوطن هم أبنائها.
ما شاء الله.
ولنحقق أفضل جودة تعليم لأبنائنا الطلبة يجب أن نحقق جودة التعلم والتنمية المهنية للمعلمين والتربويين، لأن إحنا سننقل ذلك الأثر وذلك الطموح الذي يعانق عنان السماء بإذن الله ونحققه على أرض الواقع.
يعطيك ألف عافية. شكرا لك. Very well said. Thank you so much. We've been hearing throughout the day about teacher innovation, and probably we all agree that we need teachers who are willing to take risks, experiment with new approaches, and adapt to changes. We need teachers who are passionate about their profession and who are committed to providing the best possible learning experience for their student. We need to work together to create a culture of innovation in education that benefits students, teachers, and society as a whole. Finally, in the behalf of the Hamdan bin Rashid and Maktoum Foundation for distinguished academic performance, I would like to thank our panelists for their valuable contribution to this discussion. Your insights, your idea have inspired us, and it was very informative. I am sure that our audience here, and including myself, have learned a great deal from your experience about the different initiatives, different projects that you brought into the table. I hope the conversation about teacher innovation will continue. Thank you so much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
نشكر الدكتور أديب الجراح لإدارة هذه الجلسة وجميع المتحدثين. أيها السيدات والسادة، الآن نصل معكم إلى الجلسة الحوارية الأخيرة في منتدانا، والتي ستكون بعنوان برنامج التلمذة العالمي بإدارة الدكتورة هالة الحويرس، عميد كلية التربية بالإنابة في جامعة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، فلتتفضل مشكورة ومعها المتحدثون.
Gonna get in the middle. Okay.
Can you sit there?
I think you should sit here and dig in the middle.
And then I sit here. Okay, I'll sit here. Well, then why is there a gap there? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the Global Talent Mentoring Panel Discussion. I'm Professor Hala El-Hawaris, College of Education, Acting Dean at the United Arab Emirates University. I'm also a professor of special education with a focus on gifted and talented education. It's my pleasure to moderate this panel discussion. In this session, you will learn about an innovative mentoring program for talented youth in the areas of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medical sciences, the Global Talented Mentoring Program. In addition, we brought together a fascinating panel of guests. So let me first start by introducing Professor Dr. Hamdan Stoger. Professor Dr. Hamdan is a full professor and chair professor for school education, research and evaluation at the University of Regensburg in Germany. In addition, she is the scientific director of Global Talent Mentoring, which is the Hamdan Foundation flagship STEM mentoring program. Welcome, Professor Dr. Hamdan, and please welcome Dr. Hamdan to our panel discussion. Okay, also we have with us today on the stage our two mentors and two mentees for the Global Talent Mentoring. We have mentee Matthew Chin. Matthew, you want to raise your hands? And then from Hong Kong, and he is mentor, Dr. Professor Abdul Samad. Professor Dr. Abdul Samad, yes, welcome from the United Arab Emirates. And also we have mentee Arhan. Arhan, you want to raise your hands? Yes. Welcome, Arhan also. And we have Arhan Chabra from Hong Kong and now studying at Harvard University. And his mentor, Mr. Pedro Soares from Portugal. Welcome, welcome, Mr. Pedro. In this session, we will hear first from Dr. Hamdan about the Global Talent Mentoring Program. And this program is for talent development in STEM and global talent mentoring. Finally, or at the end of the program, we will have a short presentation that's going to be presented by our two mentees, and they will try to share with us the work that they are doing in the Global Talent Mentoring Program. Thank you very much. And now I would like, without further ado, to call Professor Dr. Hamdan to the lectern. Yes, welcome, Dr. Hamdan. Yes, yeah.
So thank you very much. Can you hear me? No. So I think the microphone doesn't work. Does it? This one? So does it work now? Okay, great. So I'm very glad to be here today to present Global Talent Mentoring. Global Talent Mentoring is a present by His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum to the world. And its goal is to support the most talented students from all over the world to become excellent and innovators in the field of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medical sciences. The basic idea of global talent mentoring was to really support talent on the highest level and to create innovators. And the background is that many of our traditional support measures for talent support and gifted education are effective. However, they're not as effective as we wish them to be, and they're not effective to create the highest levels of excellence and innovation. What we, however, know from meta-analysis and from empirical studies is that mentoring can be the most effective measure to support excellence and innovation. But there's also a but, it's only working if it's implemented properly. So there are thousands of research studies that show that mentoring doesn't generally work, but it has to be implemented properly. And that's also one important issue about global talent mentoring. We are doing evaluations, we are doing research to find out under which conditions it's really working well. And that it can work has been shown quite a long time ago, also on lower levels of talent development. For example, Bloom already in the 1980s showed that one-on-one tutoring and mentoring can lead to achievements that are more than 2 standard deviations higher than regular classroom instruction, but also than mastery learning, which is a more effective way of learning and teaching. Of course, mentoring is also important for motivation and other things like emotional well-being. And there is a lot of research with outstanding talents. So for example, Benjamin Bloom did a study with 120 excellent people in different domains, scientists, artists, people in sports. And what he found was that all of them had several mentors during their talent development. And what was identified in these studies was that there are 3 stages of talent development and that different kinds of mentors play a role on different stages of talent development, and that they also have different roles during these stages of talent development. So the first stage, and here we really talk about young children, is to fall in love with a topic, idea, or discipline. On this talent development stage, teachers and parents are normally very important mentors, and their role is to get mentees excited about their domain. They are role models, and what we know from research that the enthusiasm of parents and teachers can be contagious, so they really help to motivate students. But of course, teaching the basic knowledge and skills in a domain is also essential. And when we talk about STEM, here we know that hands-on experiences in schools and kindergartens are very important to get children motivated about the STEM field. The second stage is not so much about playful learning and having fun with the talent domain. It's already about acquiring skills, knowledge, and values of a domain. Here again, the school plays an important role in the beginning. Again, teachers can be mentors on that stage, but this stage takes quite a long time. We know from research that it takes about 10 years of deliberate practice to really become excellent in the talent domain. And to do these kind of learning processes that are sometimes very aversive and not so motivating, mentors also play an important role. So mentors here become important to help students to plan their learning processes, and they also can supervise and coach mentees' deliberate practice. Deliberate practice is a way of learning where students set goals that are always a little bit above their actual achievement level. And on that stage, it's also very important to teach the values of a domain and to teach insider knowledge. If you really want to become an outstanding scientist, an outstanding engineer, you have to have a lot of insider knowledge and you have to know the values of the domain. So this stage on the top level is already very difficult to reach. So here we stop with excellent persons who are really leaders in their field. We start in school, but it goes up to being grown up and excellent in the field. The third stage, and that is reached by very, very few people, that's really about innovation. Here it's about applying passion and technical mastery that was taught in stages 1 and 2, and to create a unique style and to innovate. And you can imagine it's different kinds of mentors who play an important role here. On that stage, professionalization is very important. Mentors now not are teachers or coaches anymore, they're intellectual sparring partners who discuss the topics, who are on the same level as the mentees, and they also teach the mentees how to innovate and how to advocate. Because you can imagine if you're an innovator, it's sometimes very difficult to sell your ideas to society. It's new ideas, and mentors can help a lot here. And mentors also are door openers. They can help to connect mentees with gatekeepers in the field, and they, of course, also can help to access funding or fellowships. So that was a short introduction, what stages of talent development we have and what kind of mentors play a role and why mentoring is essential when it comes to excellence and innovation. And the goal of global talent mentoring is to support the most outstanding talented youth starting from the age of 16 to become excellent experts in their domains and to hopefully one day be innovators in their STEM domains. And to give you an idea about our program, I want to show you a short video.
All over the world, also in remote regions, there are outstanding and highly motivated young talents in STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medical sciences. Pressing questions about the future of our planet leave no doubt. It is important to help these young talents to develop into the STEM experts of tomorrow. And scientific findings are clear. One way to achieve this is through long-term mentoring. To make this happen, Global Talent Mentoring works with renowned partners from all over the world to find outstanding students as mentees and inspiring experts as mentors. Mentees and mentors are matched according to the mentee's STEM interests and the mentor's expertise. They work together in mentor-mentee dyads for up to a decade. With its members-only platform, Global Talent Mentoring makes long-term mentoring possible by overcoming barriers of geography and time. The platform provides online tools and a wide range of communication channels. The participants use the tools to work together on STEM topics and projects and to define their own learning pathways. The mentoring platform also allows participants to network with other like-minded mentees and mentors from all over the world, inspiring one another and growing together. Over 4 years, a team of researchers at the University of Regensburg in Germany developed the program according to scientific findings on mentoring and talent development. The program will be continuously evaluated and improved. Thanks to the program owner, the UNESCO-recognized Hamdan Foundation, and outstanding STEM experts from dozens of countries who are volunteering as mentors, participation is free of charge for all mentees. Mentoring is not everything, but it can make all the difference. Learn more about Global Talent Mentoring at globaltalentmentoring.org.
So you see, we took a long time to prepare the program, and we are very happy that we could start the 10-year program. So the participants here, we have some of them will remain with us, hopefully for up to 10 years. And we started the program after preparing it for 4 years in April 2021. And at the moment, we have mentors and mentees from 41 countries. So we are very happy about that, and we are very happy to include more countries. So our goal is to bring in all the world and to work together on talent development and also learn more about that. We have mentees and mentors, so dyads from different STEM fields. You see, the most popular area for our students is medical sciences, but we also have a lot of students in natural sciences. And I just want to give you a little idea about the goals of our students, what they want to achieve after participating 10 years. So for example, here is Miriam from Saudi Arabia. She wants to use artificial intelligence to improve the distribution and administration of medication, especially for the elderly and disabled. Or here's Bart from the Netherlands, who wants to use nuclear fusion to create a more sustainable world. And also a little glimpse, we have great mentees and mentors. You will get to know 2 mentees and 2 mentors a little bit better soon. But some other mentors, for example, here is one of them, a judge of the US Nuclear Regulatory Commission, an alumnus of MIT and Princeton, who is very motivated. Or we also have the head of the National Veterinary Reference Laboratory in Greece, who also represents Greece in the European Union. So you see, we have a lot of very interesting mentees and mentors. And you soon will learn a little bit more about what they're doing on our platform, because we invited 2 dyads. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Hedron, for this wonderful and informative presentation. I just have some questions for you. My first question, if we think about the area of talents, we know that students can be talented in many and diverse areas. So why are you only focusing, in the area of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medical sciences?
So let's say, can you hear me now? Yeah. So let's say we started with STEM. And one reason why we started with STEM is that we have a lot of challenges in our world, like the pandemic, pollution. And as you can imagine, innovators in the field of STEM are especially important when it comes to solving these problems, but also when it comes to fulfilling many of our dreams. Of course, doesn't mean the other areas are not important. So, of course, it would be a long-term goal to include more domains. However, when I introduced mentoring, I also said if implemented properly, it can be the most effective measure of talent development. And we have a lot of research that shows that it's really complicated to do good mentoring programs. So you really need different kinds of concepts for mentoring programs in other domains. For example, in Germany, we have some other domains, but it's completely different programs, and we would have to set up different kind of platforms, different kind of collaboration tools and so on. But of course, it would be great to broaden it to other domains as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hedron. And I believe what you have said with what we are going through now, the global challenges and issues, which are all more related to the area of STEM, which makes it more realistic to start with the STEM area. I also about number of mentors and mentees that you have. They are hundreds, and they are from all over the world. We're talking about different times. Languages could be among all your mentors, mentees, from around the globe.
So first of all, of course, the matching is very important. So what we try, because the mentors who for our they're normally nominated by our partner institutions. And one thing that you get in our program motivated for STEM and that already specialized in a certain STEM field. So the main matching criterion is the interest of the mentees and mentors. Students interested in quantum physics, for example, try to find somebody from that field. So that's a first criterion. But then, of course, we also try to match based on the time zones, because if they are really living so far from each other that they can't use a video conference, that's also not helpful. We try to match not students and mentors who speak the same language, because what we also know from research, one is very effective, but it's even more effective if mentees and mentors also network on our platform. So what we try to do is to really have good communications between mentors and mentees, but also to have collaboration with mentors on our platform. And that's, of course, much easier if everything takes place in English and they don't switch into another language on the platform.
Wonderful. That we are already using to be able to manage the network. My last question, and this is of course my area of interest when it comes to assessment and evaluation, and I would love to hear more about the evaluation process when it comes to the global talent mentoring. And also I would like to know more about how can you also evaluate the success of the program.
It's actually very difficult because it's a long-term program. So normally mentoring programs take about a year. Our program hopefully will take 10 years for the mentees till they really become outstanding in their domains. So what we do to find out if they're successful, we of course follow their goals. What kind of short-term, mid-term and long-term goals do they have? What do they do on the platform? What kind of projects do they work on together? What kind of achievements do they have? So for example, two of our participants here already were allowed into Harvard. But of course, that doesn't mean that it's global talent mentoring. There are many influences. So what you normally would do if you do sound research, you would have waitlist control groups, because otherwise you don't know, is it your program that's really helpful, or is it a very special kind of student who goes into that program? So in our short-term programs, we normally have waitlist control groups who wait for a year and then they get into the program. So they applied, and then some of them get into the program, so it's randomly assignment. In our program, of course, we can't do that because we can't let them wait 10 years. But what we do, sometimes we have great students who apply, but we don't have the right mentors for them. So, and we also ask these students to do our assessments and our questionnaires, and then we compare the development of the students who applied, but only get into our program later. So it's not perfect way, but at least it helps us to find out, is it really our program or is it other things around our program, which of course play a role for all of them, but that is the only way you can really find out if the development is all because of our program.
Wonder, that sounds like a more like formative kind of evaluation, which can definitely support you, in knowing more about the program. Thank you, Dr. Hedron, for your answers. And now I do have some questions for our mentors and mentees, but let me start. I just need to give you more details before asking them the questions. All right. Okay, so first mentee is Matthew Chin in his final year of high school. Matthew, you know Matthew now, at the Harrow School in Hong Kong. He's passionate about mathematics and statistics and uses his skills in these areas to study air pollution and global warming. Matthew has been a mentee in global talent mentoring since, I'm so sorry, I'm still talking about Matthew. He has been a mentee in global talent mentoring since 2022 and works closely with his mentor, Professor Dr. Abdul Samad. Yes, Dr. Abdul Samad is here. And Professor Dr. Abdul Samad is an associate professor at the United Arab Emirates University in the Department of Mathematics Science. His specialty is mathematics and modeling of infectious diseases. Professor So now I'll move on to our next mentee, Arhan Shabra. Arhan is in his first year of undergraduate studies at Harvard University, majoring in computer sciences and economics. In addition to his full-time studies at Harvard, Arhan has been working on various entrepreneurial initiatives. Arhan has been a mentee in global talent mentoring since 2021 and works closely with his mentor, Mr. Pedro Suarez. Mr. Pedro is a principal architect at Kyndryl, a global champion in large IT solutions for the world's leading companies. Mr. Pedro is a computer scientist with a long experience working on IT systems architecture in the corporate arena. I'm so glad the four of you can join us in this wonderful session. And now I will start with my first question. And actually, my first question is going to be for all the team. So I would like to know what makes you interested in the global talented mentoring? So I don't know, do you want to start from, we'll start with Mr. Pedro?
Yep, of course. First of all, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity. And thank you to the foundation for being here. I was actually active member in the Portuguese community for mentoring in small children and first grades and young girls to foster their ability to go into more engineering let's say, kind of activities. And through that organization, which is called NH, it's a local Portuguese organization for inclusiveness in giftedness. They talked about a more global experience, and I also had global experience on mentoring at corporate level, and it seemed a good fit. So I volunteered, and well, here we are.
Thank you, Mr. Pedro. Arhan?
Yeah, sure. So I was involved in the Hong Kong Academy for Gifted Education since I was in 7th grade. And when they reached out to me about this opportunity called Global Talent Mentoring, I was really excited about the prospect of having, a mentor as amazing and qualified as Pedro for 10 years to help me really guide my career and my projects and my interests. It was really a no-brainer to apply. And after numerous rounds of application, I'm really excited to be a part of the project.
Wonderful. And what about Dr. Hedron? What makes you interested in the global talent mentoring?
Yeah, actually, I just think it's a great opportunity to support talented students. So from a practical perspective, I think it's a great opportunity, but also from a scientific perspective, because I'm also very interested in learning more about how to best support later experts and innovators. And a program like that, of course, gives great opportunities to learn more about talent development.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Hedron. And Matthew?
Well, I came into so I found out about global talent mentoring back in September of 2021. And it was through this organization called the Hong Kong Academy for Gifted Education, which is an organization that I was part of since around 8th grade. So before then, I wasn't really involved in that much research. I'd mainly done a lot of physics and maths Olympiad competitions, as well as some small scale research projects. But what really appealed to me about global talent mentoring is that I wanted that opportunity to have this mentor guide me through this project that I wanted to do, which at the time really interested me. So yeah, that's the main reason why I applied.
Thank you very much, Matthew. What about Dr. Abdus-Samad?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, as educator, you all time look for talent. Probably as a university professor, we are more trained to teach undergraduate, master, PhD students. But the question is, what makes you interested in high school students? I think this is where you seed, okay, for the future talent, people who can lead the science, those who can be the leaders. We are trained to practically, educate students. At the end, we're going to have a force work, okay? But there is a few programs that help us to polish the next leaders. And I think the global talent mentoring is the unique one, as far as I know, in the world, because I've been training high school students in the US, but this one is unique because of the way it is, the platform, and the dynamic of the training. I meet, for example, with Matthew once a week. I think he does the same. I all the time look forward to that because you ask questions, you give them tasks, and you know that the task is difficult, but at the end of the day, you're going to accomplish something regardless. And that's, I think, what's the strain of this program.
Great, thank you very much. And now I have my second question for the mentees, Arhan and Matthew. I would like to know more about what you have learned from participating in the Global Talent Mentoring Program so far, and how this experience made a difference in your STEM talent development and more generally in your life.
For sure. I think first I should state that I've learned a lot from this relationship, so it's really hard to summarize everything in a short response. But beyond the overall project that Pedro and I are working on, which I'm going to present in a few minutes, I think there's been a lot to learn from Pedro, just overall as a life mentor. And that's one of the reasons that I signed up for GTM in the first place. I can give you an example. When I was considering which college to go to, I was facing a difficult decision between Harvard and Berkeley, and Pedro was instrumental in making that decision with me. Additionally, picking my major for college, computer science or computer engineering, is something that I spent hours talking to Pedro about and really hearing his experience. It's so helpful to have a sounding board from someone who's been in the industry for decades. And so that's been a really helpful learning experience for me for my own personal growth in STEM. Beyond that, simply learning from Pedro as a computer scientist and technology enthusiast on the projects we work on provides a really good framework for really planning my own career and my own experience in STEM.
Wonderful, thank you very much, Arhan. And what about Matthew?
Well, first of all, I think the main thing that I learned was mostly life skills, such as the ability to manage my time effectively. So before I started working with Dr. Tradain, I'd only really done really small scale research. So I hadn't had experience with a really large project. And my experience with Dr. Tradain has taught me how to effectively manage my time, as well as construct short-term and long-range goals in order to best accomplish what I want to accomplish. And in terms of more quantitative skills, of course, we've gone through lots of mathematical concepts. So my project is related to this concept in maths called fluid dynamics. And before then, I'd learned a bit about it from physics Olympiads. But through my experience with Dr. Tradain, going through resources, I was able to further deepen my understanding of them. And I found that really interesting for me.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Matthew. And now I have one question for our mentors, Mr. Pedro and Dr. Abdul Samad. I know that both of you had mentees before, and I would like to know, like now, your experience with the Global Talent Mentoring. So what's unique about your mentee in Global Talent Mentoring Program? Well, I don't know, whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I go. Okay. Well, first of all, the structure that we are provided through the platform and through Global Talent Mentoring, that makes it different because it takes away a lot of activities that you don't need to do. So all the matching, all the tools, everything is already there. In terms of the type of mentoring, for me, it kind of filled the gap. So I was used to mentoring smaller children, so teens, very early teens, or even before that. And of course, corporate mentoring for people that want to enhance their careers. And those are very different and are both very different from what we get in this relationship. So working with Aaron has been just outstanding. The drive and the need and the willingness to learn also helps me get the two-way relationship that we should always get from mentoring. And it's a constant challenge. So every time we pick a topic, I have to investigate, he has to investigate, and I think it kind of grows the relationship by doing so. So I think that's what's more special about global talent mentoring comparing to the other types of mentoring I've been doing.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pedro.
From my side, I think, as you mentioned, I am more specialist in modeling infectious diseases, but also with the mobility. So, and he's coming with different idea. He's interested into Hong Kong and the pollution. So you'll say, well, how this is going to collide? You know, how are we going to work together? But I'm looking to his idea is for me as a mobility. Something is moving. I study the mobility of people and how the mobility can infect people. So we have a common ground. Based on that, we developed something which is Matthew is going to share with you in a few minutes, if time allowed, that practically made me very interested to what he is thinking of. But also I'm teaching him some tools that I used. At the same time, I am 100% sure that after a few weeks, I have to catch up with him. And this is the beauty of it. So you learn from each other. You practically give some, but you end up, you are the teacher. You end up trying to catch up with students. So you are definitely doing some development for yourself. And this is actually a win-win situation.
Thank you very much. And if there's anything that you feel like you have liked more particularly about the global talent mentoring that you'd like to share, Dr. Abdul Samad or Mr. Pedro?
I think, again, it's just the platform, the system, the way it is, because we have goals. We put our goals in the system and we try to achieve them. It doesn't mean you have to achieve all the goals, but sometimes, no, that's not going to work. Let's change that. And when you have a goals, you are focused. So you path your way to achieve your goals. And as you are working on that, you discover something even more interesting. And I think this is what personally make me interested in the program. And I think this is what's special about the program.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matthew.
Yep, I would agree. That's very interesting structure and kind of grows on itself. It makes you wonder every time you take a different step. So we experience that when establishing the long-term goals. And then when you, based on that, establish the medium to short-term goals, it kind of creates a feedback loop. And you keep changing until you hit the right thing and the thing you really want to do. And I guess that's one of the main benefits I have found in the platform. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pedro, and thank you all for sharing with us your experiences with the Global Talent Mentoring. Now we would like to hear more from our mentees about their experiences with the Global Talent Mentoring by presenting. Give us a brief presentation about your work with your mentor in the Global Talent Mentoring. So who will start?
I think Matthew, you're going to go first.
Matthew? Okay.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Good afternoon, and welcome to my presentation on the hybrid pollution dispersion models of Hong Kong. It is unquestionable that with the rise of industrialization, the situation around pollution has aggravated massively. Hong Kong in particular has fallen prey to the effects of pollution. Now, just to put the severity of our situation into context, PM 2.5 is a scale that represents just how much fine matter and pollution there is. Hong Kong's is roughly 33 micrograms per square meter. That's more than 3 times the PM 2.5 level of 10 micrograms per square meter, as recommended by the World Health Organization. Now, according to the Hong Kong Center for Health Protection, a large portion of this pollution comes from traffic emissions. To date, Hong Kong has made substantial steps towards limiting pollution spread. Most significant has been the introduction of the Clean Air Plan, which has implemented measures to help reduce emissions from vehicles, among other pollution sources. Moreover, the government also uses standard atmospheric dispersion models, such as AirMod and Geographical Information Systems Maps, or GIS for short, to track air pollution. These models focus mainly on monitoring pollution. Now, that being said, I believe that in addition to monitoring pollution, more work must be done to enforce strict measures to limit pollution spread in order to meet the air quality objectives set by the Hong Kong government, which is where my research with Dr. Tredane comes in. Having begun working together last May, Dr. Tredane and I initially prioritized a concrete understanding of the nuances of environmental modeling. Our goal is to devise an original pollution dispersion model, which would take elements from other existing models to devise a stronger, more dynamic, and more accurate simulation. Because we didn't want to overcomplicate it, we decided upon a hybrid model, which on the one hand, would include the typical fluid dynamics and general mathematical concepts of a standard dispersion model to simulate phenomena such as pollution dispersion from a single vehicle, but also uses the idea of agent-based modeling, which in short is a computational simulation of autonomous interacting agents. For example, in the case of our model, one of the agents we will be using is individual vehicles that interact through traffic and emit pollution. Now, we decided upon using the agent-based modeling platform Gamma, which will assist us in constructing an accurate yet accessible simulation. Now, first of all, our work started by researching into atmospheric dispersion and traffic pollution modeling. We collated a group of different existing models and analyzed their strengths and weaknesses to gauge roughly what we should aim to include in our model. Simultaneously testing out these models while grappling with the maths behind them did initially prove to be quite a challenge, although with Dr. Tredane's help with finding appropriate online resources, I was able to gain a deeper understanding into them. Next, as a prelude to our intended model of the whole of Hong Kong, we decided to build a simpler model of pollution dispersion due to traffic in a street canyon. This model took variables such as the geometry of the canyon, wind speed, traffic type, and other factors to produce a simulation of pollution dispersion, which we ultimately tested on a street in a region in Hong Kong infamous for its high pollution density. Now, various readings taken directly in the street gave evidence to suggest that our model is accurate and hence can be used to simulate pollution in any street. More importantly, our model also enables us to manipulate controllable independent variables, such as canyon geometry, to investigate how best to limit pollution dispersion without making drastic changes to overall traffic. Even though the results from this preliminary study will not be implemented in real life, in large because limiting pollution spread in one street canyon won't have a massive effect on local pollution, it was invaluable in providing me with mathematical modeling experience. We also hope to go down a similar route to build a local dispersion model, which would have a much more sizable impact on pollution limitation procedures. Now, currently, we are working on the agent-based aspect of the model and have begun work on Gamma. And our plan is to build a geographic simulation comprising multiple layers fused together to include all pollution contributors, such as traffic mobility, population density, and landscape layers. We will also integrate fixed sources of pollution due to factors such as factories and weather conditions such as wind speed, humidity, temperature, and precipitation, using diffusion equations to combine these with the overall model. So far, we have managed to set up a landscape layer of Hong Kong and have made good progress into modeling local traffic. Finally, having simulated and determined areas of highest pollution concentration contribution, I hope to collaborate with such local organizations as the Clean Air Network in order to implement a more efficient and effective means of targeting environmental efforts and allocating resources to counteracting pollution sources that contribute the largest concentration of pollution to the dispersion model. Furthermore, the simulation could give us information on where pollutants would disperse the least. This could give us valuable insight on where to position factories so as to decrease pollution dispersion. Now, to date, there has been a lot of work put into pollution limitation, but I want to use my mathematical modeling understanding to contribute and further reinforce the effort against pollution dispersion in Hong Kong. Thank you for listening.
What an excellent presentation. Thank you very much, Matthew.
Thank you.
Orhan, it's your turn. You want to share with us what you have been working on with Mr. Pedro?
You did very well.
When I joined Global Talent Mentoring, I wanted to work on something in the field of tech that was part research, but also part action. I wanted to learn, but I also wanted to create. For the past year, I've been lucky enough to work with my mentor, Pedro, on dissecting the world of technology that shapes our future. Every day, technology's impact on society increases exponentially. And at the same time, technologies help us build new technologies, creating this compounding effect that's causing innovation to skyrocket. We see technologies with revolutionary potential, like the recent rise of generative AI or artificial intelligence models, such as ChatGPT that everyone's now heard of. But we also see promising technologies that come crashing down, like the recent collapse of FTX. Thus, it's really worth asking ourselves how we can measure potential to make impact on industry, technology, the economy, and fundamentally, society as a whole. We want to ask ourselves questions such as what trends can we discover and what trends can we predict? More importantly, can we use government or business policy to shape these trends? To do this, Pedro and I are working on a series of short-form opinion editorial articles. Our goals are to publish articles that offer brief summaries of potentially disruptive technologies and analyze their potential impacts as well. We were inspired by Harvard Business School's case study format, which studies past business innovations, except we want to turn that model future-facing to see where these innovations are going. So for our first blog, we looked at Tesla's recent rollouts of what they call FSD, or full self-driving. We chose this because autonomous vehicles are one of the most exciting and disruptive applications of artificial intelligence, where we've already seen the snowball start to form and start rolling. For this case study, we wanted to start analyzing why such a promising technology had so many recalls, rollbacks, and issues when it first launched. We started by trying to understand how the company operates as a firm. Notably, Tesla operates on a whopping marketing budget of $0, relying on the massive amounts of demand and hyped up industry sentiment for autonomous vehicles. However, Pedro and I read our case study about how there are negative impacts that this can bear, whereby Tesla's capitalization of this decade-long social fascination for driverless cars has really caused them to rush the development of a minimal viable product, an MVP, for their software and really ship an unfinished product. We cite the long forgotten example of Google Glass, which saw a very similar trajectory and is now an infamous phenomenon almost, which we call in our paper the diminishing returns of demand. And so with the data and case studies we provide, it really becomes more clear to see why Tesla's launch strategy has worked against them in many ways. And we propose a sub-thesis essentially stating that this phenomenon where decades of global hype and demand lead to the rushed engineering of a product without the necessary use case scenario in the environment. And so it often causes products and technology to be shipped before they're ripe. So when we look to the future then, we want to really dive more into the technical aspects of what computer vision is and how the technology can be bolstered more progressively rather than instantaneously over the next decade. So fundamentally, while the technology that allows cars to map their surrounding environment, like you see in this video over here, will continue to improve, Pedro and I suggest technologies and more importantly, policies that can help with this process. So for example, one of the policies we go into detail about in our paper is how rather than having cars rely on optical character recognition or OCR like they do nowadays, there can actually be QR codes on the road, on stop signs, for example, which can easily transmit information to cameras. Another example we pitch is how we can use pinpoints, just like how Hollywood uses in CGI and movie making, to essentially help the car's LiDAR system position itself. These are cheap and easy developments that could potentially save lives and speed up the transition to autonomous vehicles by years, but they require efforts both from the public and private sector, and they require these entities to coordinate to implement such policies and solutions. So we propose these and many more policies, whereby the end goal is that the technology will always come because it always does, but we need to find some sort of mechanism to allow that to happen. In the case of artificial intelligence and full self-driving, we need sufficient legislation, consumer adoption for beta testing, and proper devotion by the EV industry, not only to sell what they currently have, but what they can have in the future. So that's a summary of the first case study that Pedro and I wrote. And we're excited to be authoring numerous more at the moment as we continue to uncover exciting topics in this field of technology and business. Thank you so much for being here today, and I really appreciate your time.
Wow, what a great presentation. Thank you very much, Hamdan, for this great presentation. Finally, I would like really to thank you all, and I hope that you have all enjoyed the presentation as much as I did. And I would like also to thank Dr. Hedron for her interesting and introductory remarks about the global talent mentoring. And I believe that we have all now know, and we have learned much about the global talent mentoring and how to use mentoring, to support youth, the talented youth and students in the area of STEM. And also the session has been very inspiring, and I hope that you will take away some ideas and inspiration for your talent development and for your also future educational and scientific initiatives. I would like just to share with you the code. I don't know, do you have the... Did I share to you?
It's over there.
Oh, can you just take once? Just to share with you the barcode. Yeah, the QR code for more information if you are interested to know more about the global talent mentoring. So please go ahead and take a photo of the code so you can look it up later. Thank you very much again for your participating in this panel discussion. Thank you very much for my participants, and thank you very much for all the audience. You all have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. It doesn't. It's not working? Can we get any support from the IT department?
Thanks, the code.
So if you just look for global talent mentoring in Google, I think you can also find the homepage and the information if this doesn't work.
All right. Thank you very much. You all have a good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pedro. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Hedron. Thank you.
نشكر الدكتورة هالة الحويرس
Thank you very much.
بإدارتها هذه الجلسة، ونشكر جميع المتحدثين. سيداتي سادتي، إذانا بختام المنتدى، فلنستمع معنا الآن للكلمة الختامية لمؤسسة حمدان بن راشد آل مكتوم للأداء التعليمي المتميز، يلقيها سعادة الدكتور خليفة السويدي الأمين العام للمؤسسة، فليتفضل مشكورا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. العرب تقول لا عطر بعد عروس. أتمنى إن شاء الله أن المترجم لا يترجمها بحرفيتها، لكن معناها البسيط أن من يأتي متأخرا لا يكون له النصيب أو الحظ الكبير من المتعة كالذي يتحدث أولا مثلا في مثل هذه المنتديات. استمتعت كثيرا بهذا المنتدى العالمي، والذي نحن فخورون بانعقاده تحت رعاية كريمة من صاحب السمو الشيخ محمد بن راشد آل مكتوم، نائب رئيس الدولة، رئيس مجلس الوزراء، حاكم دبي، رعاه الله. هذا إن دل على شيء فإنما يدل على أن التعليم في دولة الإمارات أولوية، وأولوية قصوى، لأننا نؤمن بأن التعليم هو الذي يحدد مسار واتجاه الدول في العالم. في ختام هذا المنتدى، أول حاجة أود أن أقولها حقيقة أني أشكر الحاضرين على صبرهم وتحملهم وانتظارهم هذه اللحظة. أيضا أشكر ضيوفنا من خارج دولة الإمارات، زملائنا وشركائنا في مؤسسة حمدان، التي بدأت كجائزة بسيطة جدا على مستوى دبي أطلقها المغفور له بإذن الله الشيخ حمدان بن راشد طيب الله ثراه، وتحولت من جائزة بسيطة إلى مؤسسة عالمية تحتضن مثل هذه المنتديات ولها شركاء في كل مكان في العالم. أنا فخور جدا بشراكتنا مع مكتب التربية، مع الأليسكو، مع اليونسكو، مع الأسيسكو، مع شركائنا في ألمانيا، مع الجودة الأوروبية وغيرها من المنظمات. هذا إنما يدل على قدرة الإنسان على التواصل، وبمقدار ما يكون بين ذلك التواصل نستطيع أن نحقق أهدافنا جميعا بمثل هذا التعاون. أود أن أشكر حقيقة أيضا المترجمين الذين ساعدونا في الترجمة إلى اللغة الأجنبية عن العربية وبالعكس. لهم مني خالص التحية، وأتمنى أني ما أزعجتهم بالمثل الذي ذكرته. المنتديات الجيدة تحقق أمرين اثنين. الأمر الأول، يخرج منها الإنسان بأسئلة حائرة في ذهنه، فإذا خرجتم اليوم بأعداد أو بعدد كبير من الأسئلة تدور في أذهانكم، معناته هذا المنتدى حقق أول هدف من أهدافه. الفائدة الثانية من مثل هذه المنتديات العالمية تتلخص في التواصل، بناء شراكات جديدة. فلو تعرف كل واحد منكم على شخص واحد جديد يعني يستطيع أن يبني معه علاقة جديدة فيها إيجابية، يكون هذا المنتدى قد حقق الهدف السامي من خلاله. لما اخترنا موضوع الابتكار في التعليم، حقيقة كنا نقصد أمر واحد: هل مدارسنا اليوم مناسبة لإعداد جيل المستقبل؟ أنا لن أجيب، لكن بعطيكم نقطة ستساعدكم في الإجابة عن هذا السؤال. هل المدرسة اليوم تكون ضابطة لعقول الأطفال أم تساعدهم في حرية التفكير؟ إذا كانت المدرسة تضع أطر لعقلية الأطفال، فهذه المدرسة لن تكون مناسبة لإعداد جيل المستقبل. يسمونها باللغة الأجنبية framing of mind، يعني وضع أطر حول عقلية الطفل. إن كانت هذه المدرسة تساعد الطفل في توسيع هذا الإطار من التفكير، فهي المدرسة التي نريد. متى ستكون المدرسة مساعدة في تحقيق هذا الهدف؟ عندما تكون المدرسة مساعدة للمعلمين في توسيع طريقة تفكيرهم. يعني بمقدار ما المدرسة تضيق على عقلية المعلم، ردة الفعل المباشرة أن المعلم سيضيق على عقلية الطفل. أنا أول كتاب ترجمته لمصلحة مكتب التربية العربي كان بعنوان أطعم المعلمين قبل أن يأكلوا التلاميذ. صحيح، إذا المعلم ضيقنا عليه، ردة الفعل الطبيعي للمعلمين سيضيقون على هؤلاء الأطفال. فلما نتكلم اليوم عن حاجة مجتمعاتنا إلى الابتكار وإلى الإبداع، هذا يعودنا يعني إلى النقطة الأساسية. النقطة الأساسية المدرسة، والمحور الأساسي في المدرسة المعلم، والسؤال الأساسي هو ما هو الدور المطلوب من هذا الإنسان؟ إن كان الدور المطلوب من هذا الإنسان وضع فريم على تفكير الطفل، فنقول للمدرسة مع السلامة، لأن الأطفال لن يقتنعوا بهذه المدرسة في المستقبل الحالي أو المستقبل القريب. إن كان هدف المدرسة توسيع هذه العقلية، فهذه هي المدرسة التي نريد، والمدرسة التي ستنمي الإبداع بإذن الله تعالى. هذا يتطلب أمر بسيط جدا، وهو إعادة النظر في فلسفة التعليم في دولنا. لماذا نعيد النظر إلى فلسفة التعليم في دولنا؟ لأننا إن لم نفعل ذلك سنكون نستخدم أسلحة حالية بعقلية ماضية. أعطيكم إياها في مثال بسيط وسأختم كلامي، لأني حقيقة أنا جوعان مثلكم. لما قررنا أن نقحم الأجهزة الإلكترونية إلى مدارسنا، واستثمرنا آلاف الدراهم في اللوح الذكي السمارت بورد، لما يدخل المعلم للسمارت بورد بفلسفة قديمة سينظر إلى السمارت بورد أنه سبورة وأنه بحاجة إلى تبشورة. لما يا أخي نحن استثمرنا ملايين على هذه الأجهزة؟ لأن العقلية التي يعمل بها هذا المعلم أو هذا التربوي ما زالت تتكلم بلغة غير اللغة التي يفهمها هؤلاء الأطفال. فإذا كي ننجح في هذه المهمة نحن بحاجة إلى عقلية جديدة تسود مجتمعنا التعليمي. لذلك كان من أهم إنجازات مؤسسة حمدان في المرحلة الماضية حقيقة التعاون مع جامعة الإمارات في إطلاق ماجستير التربية الابتكارية، لأن الهدف من ذلك تخريج معلمين عندهم أطر واسعة، وشفنا نموذج حقيقة يبشر بخير قبل قليل. وكان من أهم البرامج التي أطلقناها برنامج التلمذة العالمي، وما شاء الله تبارك الله شفنا نماذج حقيقة من الطلبة ومن المشرفين عليهم، نحن نفتخر بهم جميعا. يعني تخيلوا مؤسسة بسيطة جدا في إمارة دبي اليوم مسؤولة عن تلمذة ما يقارب 120 طالب ذكي حول العالم وربطهم بخبراء يعني عالميين. منظمة الجودة أو مؤسسة الجودة ساعدتنا في بناء منظومة جديدة للمدرسة، نحن نريد أن نسوقها، ومن خلالكم نريد لهذه المنظومة أن تنجح بإذن الله تعالى. هذا غيض من فيض كما يقولون، لكن من أهم إنجازاتنا التي نفتخر بها هم من نكرمهم سنويا كنماذج للإبداع والابتكار. وغدا بإذن الله تعالى نشرف بحضوركم جميعا في حفل توزيع جوائز مؤسسة حمدان في هذا المكان، كي نزف كوكبة جديدة من المتميزين والمبدعين إلى عالمنا العربي بإذن الله تعالى. أتمنى لكم إقامة سعيدة في دولة الإمارات، وأتمنى لكم حياة طيبة بإذن الله تعالى، ونلتقي بإذن الله غدا، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
نشكر سعادة الدكتور خليفة السويدي على هذه الكلمة المميزة، ونشكر جميع المتحدثين والمحاورين ومديري الجلسات الذين بالفعل قدموا أبعاداً مهمة في رؤيتهم حول أهمية الابتكار في التعليم، مما أضاف في الوعي التربوي والتعليمي محفزاً للتجديد والتطوير المستمرين. والشكر موصول لكم حضورنا الكريم، على أمل أن نلقاكم في فعالياتنا القادمة بإذن الله، ونود إعلامكم بأن شهادات المشاركة والحضور يمكن تحميلها، موجودة عبر مسح رمز QR على لوحات المعرض في مدخل هذه القاعة. عندكم على اليمين وعلى اليسار في مدخل هذه القاعة. شكرا لكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.